is the Put It in the Air podcast. This is the Put It in the Air podcast.
Yes. Welcome in, everyone, to the Put It in the Air podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Casello, a.k.a. East Coast Virus.
And I'm Pascal Rawls Philippe, a.k.a. Punkson Drublick. And that is definitely going to be the way I say it from now on. I'm not putting myself in that position again this year.
Good. You could have another recurring, strange intro element.
Yeah, I'll think about it. We're in the off-season, so I feel like I have time, as long as I get it moving before our draft.
Yes.
But that's a ways away, because we have the real draft coming up.
Yes, we do. That is coming up this Thursday. Today is Tuesday, whatever date it is. I think it's the 22nd.
It is the 22nd. Yep.
Yeah, and the draft is coming in 2 days.
That doesn't mean that this will be dropping today.
Yes. It'll probably drop Wednesday, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night, maybe even draft day. We'll see. But you'll see us before the draft, hopefully, if you decide to watch, which is awesome. This is our new introduction of video podcasting. We did our Super Bowl special on the video.
I was going to say, right, it's not the first time you're seeing these ugly mugs, but it's the first time we're doing the podcast with the new setup,
new software,
right? So
it's gonna be something to look forward to. So if you want to listen to us in the car, you still can, but now you could also look at our pretty shirts and faces.
Hey, baby.
Hi. Anyways, we're gonna give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of the today's episode. So today's episode is going to include, per usual, we had some major free agency movements. It was a little quiet, but we're going to break into that. We will also have a call with our commissioner, Billy D. That should be really fun.
All right.
He's this is what we were supposed to do for Super Bowl, but we're bringing it to you in the off season.
Better late than never.
That's true, and it's early enough that we can make some decisions maybe in the future. We're also going to have a deep dive on our first year of keepers, so stay tuned for that. We did some super math. Bill Nye, the mathematician over here, killed it. Is he also a mathematician and a scientist?
I don't know, probably. You usually have to do a lot of math.
Yeah, science and math are like, yodels and the cream that goes in them. And then we also have a 3 and out draft hopefuls and hope not. Since the draft is coming up this week, we aren't going to go too in depth because we're not going to give you mock drafts from some amateur football fan podcast hosts, fantasy freaks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We're going to give you just a couple places we'd like to see some guys go or hate to see some guys go. So stay tuned for all of that. And I'm just going to, I think that's it. Is there anything else I should add?
I think that's all we wrote down, my friend.
All right. So let's get into it.
Pun down.
The pun down. So for the pun down today, there was no game, so we're not going to go over that. However, we're gonna dive into free agency. We're gonna look at, Pascal and I have compiled a list of top 5 free agency moves, trades, or anything really that's happened since the Super Bowl. And we're gonna kind of go 5-1 back and forth, and hopefully we have some matching and some non-matching items. So you guys could, hear us make fun of each other for ranking movements that don't really matter.
I hope you're not ranking your bowel movement.
They matter.
Listen, I ended up coming up with 4.
What? I came up with 10.
I know, but I also did it completely differently than what we discussed.
Okay, all right.
I actually have a whole bunch.
It is baseball season. Curveball.
I'm going to let you start out. That way you don't end up doing 2 at the end. But yeah, you'll find that I have more than 4 moves
I see
put down. It's just into categories.
Like AFC, NFC coaching and referees, right? Is
not fully, but along those lines, kind of.
All right. So the Fat Ashy podcast. I can't believe this. I still use this. All right. So I'll start off with my number 5 free agency move this year. And that goes to Evan Ingram signing with the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
I think that that's going to be a big move because of what they have instilled with Bo Nix going into his second year. Hopefully there's no sophomore slump. They're going to make big waves in the draft, I assume, to be continued. A little more foreshadowing for you guys. But I think Evan Ingram, if he could stay healthy, he might be a force to be reckoned with to join that team who may be a contender. I mean, after the draft, I think we might see the Broncos. They've been adding all kinds of movement. There's been tons of defensive additions. They've been killing it. We'll go over a few of those things today, but yeah, Evan Ingram to the Denver Broncos, definitely going to be awesome, especially for fantasy, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. It didn't even cross my radar.
I felt that. I felt that you would miss a few of these.
Yeah, I mean, and I can see where you're coming from. Evan Ingram, I think, is on the wrong side of 30.
True.
He already ended the season last year on IR, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
if he wasn't on IR, he missed some time due to injury. And I think that one thing that a lot of teams discount is how hard it is to sustain success from year to year. And so the Broncos kind of came out of nowhere. Bo Nix played really well as a rookie. Their defense was the best defense in football. And I think it's really difficult to keep that up year over year.
So do you assume...
I think a lot of teams are going to be, I don't know, kind of gunning for them a little bit more. Plus, they've got tape on Bo Nix. Like, I think it's tough to keep that type of thing up.
So you think it'll be more of like a C.J. Stroud second year kind of situation for them?
I'm not going to predict anything because I was the guy last year talking all sorts of junk about no Knicks, and he played really well in the end.
You did.
I mean, he had some really bad games out there
in the beginning. You found it absurd that I was like, Bo Nix is a potential. You're like, we shouldn't even cover him in freshman football. That's crazy.
You're right. And I was wrong. But I honestly,
wait, can we run that back?
You're right. And I was wrong.
Yes. Oh, it feels good. Finally. We've had a lot of argument where I've been called wrong in the last 24 hours, let me tell you.
Well, honesty is a hell of a drug. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if their defense can play to the same level that they played at.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they went from last place to second place or what that was, but like their schedule is likely going to get harder. Yeah, we'll see.
I think they're going to give the Chiefs the run for their money, and then the Raiders. I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting.
Yeah, no one's worried about the Raiders, but you still have
We'll see.
You still have the Chargers. Like, no, I mean the Raiders.
We'll see, man.
I guess.
We'll see. I mean, they really retooled everything. We'll talk about the Raiders in a little bit.
All right. So I will go with my number 4 offseason move. And they were re-signings. So the re-signings of Chris Godwin and Ronnie Stanley.
Okay.
I don't think that they're huge needle movers. Chris Godwin still has to come back from his injury. Ronnie Stanley is another guy on the wrong side of 30. But being able to keep that continuity for their offensive line is a lot for a team that runs the ball a lot in the Ravens.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin, lifelong Buck. He had great chemistry with Baker before he got hurt. And the Patriots were ready to throw a Brinks truck at him. And he decided to re-sign with the Bucks. But the fact that the Pats were willing to spend that much money tells you that there's probably a good chance that he'll be back to full speed this year. So not earth-shattering moves, but stuff that keeps good teams good.
Okay, so that is true. Chris Godwin re-signing is pretty huge. They are going to run it back with the Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, and Chris Godwin. And then Ronnie Stanley, he's this is a fantasy show, so obviously you don't hear his name too much, but he definitely provides a lot of help for some big fantasy names in Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and a lot of them. So
yeah, I mean, he's a key part of their ability to run the ball and their ability to pass the ball. He's not going to be getting those carries or those catches, but everyone around him is much better having him in tow.
And Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are already tremendous, so having him boost their abilities is awesome. So good choice for number 4. My number 4 actually goes to Deebo Samuel to Washington.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think it might not be a huge needle mover for Deebo Samuel himself, but I think, and even in fantasy, I don't think it's going to be a big fantasy splash, but I do think it's going to be a big help to Washington. I think having Deebo in there is kind of a gadget player, some help for Jaden Daniels to like keep his amazing, rookie season continuing into his sophomore season. I think he has a much better chance than Bo Nix in, running back excellence. Making it to the NFC Championship as a rookie and almost being the first rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl. That would have been, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of have to agree with you. Where I was talking about it being kind of difficult for the Broncos, I think that it's going to look a little bit different for the Commanders. They also are going to be looking at a second place schedule, which is obviously way more difficult than the last place schedule that they played last year. But the fact that they made it all the way to the AFC Championship game and NFC Championship
that would have
game,
been incredible.
And and they weren't the number 1 seed in their division means that they don't even have to face the most difficult path. Even though they made it all the way to the championship game.
Yeah, and they added so many pieces into a win now type of situation. I feel like it's mid-season, like the trade deadline's coming, and they're just going all in. I mean, they've added so much.
They were in a great position already. They had, I think, like the second or third most cap space in the league, and it's an easy place for a veteran free agent to want to go to.
For sure,
considering what they did last year,
and the fact that they just signed Laramie Tunsil and are traded for him, and there's just
we'll see how that goes. I mean, Laramie, he is one of the great.
He had a bad year last year.
Tackles of his generation, but that offensive line in Houston was not great.
It's also the momentum of your team as well. The locker room. There's a lot of elements that probably planted little seeds of failure in him last year. Maybe. So there's a chance that he's still in his ridiculous form.
Yeah, I mean, 31 years old. Offensive tackles are playing into their late 30s, so he's got some time. He could still be really good.
Yeah, definitely. And that's not the only key addition that they made this offseason. There's a lot. We'll get into that in the future.
Yeah. All right. My number 3 move was Steph Diggs to New England.
I figured.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a huge thing.
Let's see. Is he in my top 10? No, he's not.
Whatever. That's how you know this podcast ain't worth shit, right there. No, but so he signed a 3-year, $69 million deal, but it's really effectively a 1-year deal, $18 million. I think if they cut him after the first year, they're only looking at maybe $6 million in dead cap the next year. But he's been looking really good in his offseason workouts. You can't really tell too much from that, but I mean, we did see Kendrick Bourne coming off a knee injury recently, and he wasn't this crisp. He wasn't this explosive.
Wait, can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
So we can at least, insert the sound clip.
One of our sound clips.
Injury list.
So no, we're not doing the injury
list. This is literally our injury list for the day. So eat it up now. It's only Stephon Diggs.
I mean, Steph Diggs, he's joining a room that really doesn't have much talent or any proven talent.
What about Booty?
I'm a Booty fan. I'm not gonna lie. I like big booties, and I cannot lie. No, there's no proven talent in that room. The closest thing they have is Kendrick Bourne, who has maybe an 800-yard season to his name.
He's a good WR2, WR3.
More like a W3, W4, but
that's true.
But yeah, so Steph is instantaneously the top guy as long as he's able to actually come back from his injury.
How do
We'll
you
see
feel-
when he actually plays.
How do you
but,
feel as a Patriots fan that that's the receiver you got? You thought you were going to get a big name, and I mean, you got a big name.
Well,
But how do you feel
I'm
with the other options that were out there? Seriously.
I mean, lukewarm.
Okay, that's reasonable.
I wanted Steph Diggs before he joined the Bills. Back when he was in his prime. Was disappointed that they got him for a second round pick. And now he's coming off of a torn ACL.
Yeah, it's big.
But he
How old
was
is he?
playing well.
Is he 30?
He's 30, 31, I think.
Okay.
But he's a route runner, so at least he's not a speed guy. But I mean, yeah, I'm lukewarm. I wanted DK. We talked about that plenty. But I also, would they give up like a second, a third, and a fourth, I think? Oh no, that was the Laramie Tunsil trade. They gave up like a second and a sixth. The Patriots' second round pick is number 38, so it's kind of high, and DK didn't want to go to New England anyway.
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk was a nice little pipe dream, but like another guy that didn't want to go to New England already is being paid a ton of money. And so this is a slower rebuild for the Patriots, but I'm okay with that. Like, it's better than going out and making someone like Christian Kirk the top paid receiver in football, or trading like a first round pick for T. Higgins or something like that. Like,
although that I'm sure you would be much more excited if T. Higgins was going to be your WR1.
I mean, it depends on what the compensation would have been.
I guess, yeah. I guess that does.
Like if the Patriots gave up the 4th overall pick for T. Higgins, I would have been kind of pissed.
Oh, first round. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say 4th round. I was like, but they gave him
No.
a second for Steph.
No. The number 4 pick, I would have been kind of pissed. And T. Higgins is always hurt. Like I already was worried about that possibility. So
yeah, I think it was more of just like a dissatisfaction type of thing, like not being very happy. I mean, he's so talented.
It's his whole career. He always has like hamstring injuries and like
that is fair.
Yeah.
That is fair. All right, well, let's move on to my number 3. You're gonna love this one. My number 3 is Najee Harris to the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, I'm telling you right now, he's going into LA to a team that actually has a fighting chance, kind of like the Steelers in a way. It's a team that's going to have more wins than losses, most likely. I think that entering into a position where J.K. Dobbins came in as like maybe the starter, Gus Edwards was actually the starter prior to the season, and then J.K. took it over. It's just an opportunity that I think Najee's been like hoping for, and I think it's a better situation than being in Pittsburgh for him.
Why?
I just feel like he was just stale in Pittsburgh. Like he actually had 4 1,000-yard seasons.
They used him a lot though. Yeah.
I know. He was used a lot. I think he's going to get used just as much in LA, and I think we're going to see a different Najee Harris. I think he's going to up his game.
Yeah,
this is just a feeling I have.
I have no faith in Najee Harris. Like,
and I knew he wouldn't be on your list.
I haven't looked at it, so I'm not like I'm not saying this is fact, but I feel like he's put up a lot of carries every year of his career.
Exactly.
And running backs run down quickly.
You're right.
And he already was not that good. Like they really just spammed him the ball, whether it was running it, throwing him the ball. Like they really just gave him as many touches as possible, and his effectiveness was really low.
Yeah, he was high volume mediocrity, and I think he's going to go to high volume, like top 12 running back this year is my call. Maybe I'll say top 15, just because he'll be in the top half.
I think
of the
that
league.
There might be like 5 rookie running backs in the top 15.
Oh, I doubt it.
It
depends on where they fall.
Really good guys.
Of course, there is.
You've got
probably 6 potential guys.
Obviously, Janty. You've got Omarion Hampton. You've got Judkins and Henderson from Ohio State, and then you've got guys like Caleb Johnson, who didn't run well but is a production guy.
I mean, but let's be real.
You've got a lot of guys.
It matters where they go, though. Because
Sure.
if somebody goes to Buffalo, they're not cracking the top 20.
Well,
You know what I mean?
James Cook is talking about wanting.
All right. That was a bad example only because of James Cook's kind of headbutting situation with the Buffalo Brass.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is
he's
that
pulling a Dalvin Cook or a Le'Veon Bell.
These teams are quick to replace their running backs because they don't want to pay them. And so if there's a rookie that is as good as the starter, there's a good chance that they're going to get a lot of carries.
Okay, well, let me rephrase it. Najee Harris will be a top 15 running back if they don't select one of the top 6 running backs in the draft.
All right. I mean,
fair? That's still a bold.
It's fair. I still don't agree with it, but
well,
and like it also depends on like what your metric is. Are you going like total yards from scrimmage?
Total
Are you going
fantasy
rushing
points.
yards? Fantasy points. Okay.
That's what we're on here.
That's valid.
And we can look that up real easy with the app.
Yeah. That's valid. Okay.
So,
okay.
Cool.
All right. So we'll go on to my number 2 is QB movement.
Ooh.
There was a lot of them, but the main ones to me are Sam Darnold, obviously $100 million in Seattle, pushing Geno Smith out of the way. Geno Smith going to the Raiders for a 3rd round pick, I believe. And Justin Fields going to the Jets. He's the Jets' newest punching bag at quarterback. And then Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers not being signed anywhere.
There is actually Aaron Rodgers news.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is currently picnicking in Napa Valley. So, there could be a movement coming.
All right.
The train has arrived. Maybe he's on that train.
Yep. Well, the train's about to leave the station if he doesn't make a decision soon.
I actually think he's waiting for an injury, and we actually had one in Derek Carr going down and possibly not even playing the entire season, which is crazy because it's April, dude. He must be in real bad shape. That shoulder must be in real bad shape. And Aaron Rodgers now is like, maybe I could go to New Orleans.
So everything I'm hearing is that Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers is a done deal.
That's what they've been saying. It was a 50% chance of him going to the Giants or the Steelers until the Giants got Jameis Winston and then Russell Wilson. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, I think that going with what everyone expects, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers and Kirk Cousins to the Browns is the most likely outcome.
That'd be pretty awesome.
I do think that both of them, definitely Kirk, is waiting to see if they draft someone. I mean, Kirk is under contract with the Falcons, so it's not really his choice technically. And I did see a report that said that the Falcons are okay with keeping Kirk as the backup to Michael Penix.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know.
Is he
Keeping
okay
a
with
$50 million quarterback as your backup seems like bad business to me. And right, is Kirk okay with that?
I don't think so. He's that
I don't
dude.
know, like-
he likes to be that dude.
I get it, but he might be okay with collecting a $50 million paycheck for basically taking a year off to let his body recover. So
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know him. I don't know the guy personally, but yeah. So a lot of QB movement. A lot of it made no sense, but they did it anyway.
Yeah.
Swapping out a known commodity in Geno Smith, who played arguably well, for an unknown commodity in Sam Darnold, who you don't even know if he's gonna vibe with your team. And then on top of that, you send away his top outside receiver. I mean,
You turn DK Metcalf into Cooper Kupp. It's kind of weird.
yeah, right. Well, really, it's like DK turned into nobody, and Tyler Lockett turned into Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
DK
we'll
got
see.
absorbed by JSN. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I bet you are. Oh, he's one of your keepers?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
I'm
makes sense.
pretty certain.
I mean, he's the number one receiver on the team, but
Yeah.
they also might lean on the run. I don't know. I
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on in Seattle.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're down to number 2, right?
Yeah.
My number 2 pick would be Mr. And last year, this would not have been the case if this happened last year, because I was like kind of out on this dude because he's getting old. But I think the revitalization of Devontae Adams to the Los Angeles Rams is just going to be such an awesome spot for him. It's going to be a really good year for him, and I think maybe even more than 1 year. I feel like this year, if you want to get in on Devontae, jump right in, draft him higher than his draft position. He's gonna be good out there. he's replacing Cooper Kupp, and he's playing along with Puka Nacua, who's going to get him open a lot. And I think that team's going to be really good, improved with that movement. So.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. That kind of goes into my number one move of the offseason.
Cool.
And I could have put the two in together, honestly. But DK and Devontae.
Yeah. Two huge moves.
Yeah, I mean,
you actually called DK to the Steelers. I'll mention on the Super Bowl episode. I rewatched it and I was like, oh damn, yo, all right. I like to roast you when you're wrong, but especially when you feel so like you're so sure of yourself. This is definitely probably gonna happen.
I feel like that was low hanging fruit. It wasn't too hard to predict that one.
That was not on my radar. I was like, there's no way, dude, DK Metcalf's going to the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, so as a Patriots fan, I've been watching the Pats swing and miss at receivers for a few years now, and the Steelers have been right there with them. And so for me, it really wasn't a surprise. Like I've seen how how heavy they've been going at these guys. So.
Do you get like the soap water that comes off of their hands that they wash, like your hands underneath?
No, because they haven't been getting anything either. Like they went after Ayuk, they went after Calvin Ridley. I think they've been looking for guys for a minute.
Calvin Ridley's still a free agent, right?
Is he? No, I think he's still with the Titans. Yeah, he signed a couple-year deal.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah, Cam Ward has been talking about how Calvin Ridley's the best receiver in the league.
See, that's so annoying. I put so much trust in him last year, and he just did his best Gabe Davis impersonation.
He gave you one win.
Didn't he win the Gabe Davis award, or who was?
He might have. I forget.
I forget.
Yeah.
We'll run back and check it out. Okay. My number one. You kind of touched upon this. You're gonna love this. My number one off-season move is Justin Fields to the New York Jets.
Get out of here.
I swear, I'm not a Jets fan. It might seem that way because it's such a far-fetched pick, and I thought it would be funny to put it number one. And the reason why is because he is going to make Garrett Wilson a top 3 wide receiver, mark my words.
I mean, they played together in
Simply
college,
put,
so
it's gonna happen.
I could see that happening.
And he is going to come to his form of when he entered the NFL, and everybody was like, "Holy shit! Look at this dude!" When he was on the Bears and he was running over everybody, he makes poor decisions and loses games, but the Jets are okay with that. His fantasy numbers will be great, but the Jets will still be under 500, maybe. And if he could pull the Jets above 500, holy shit, dude, he deserves number one. I mean, when is the last time the Jets were above 500 for real?
Yeah. I don't know about that one, but
I'm glad.
I'm proud of you for actually writing that down and then saying it aloud too.
I'm just glad I could make you laugh, and that was really for my dad. Go Justin Fields. As a Giants fan, I would have loved to get Justin Fields over the Jameis Russell combo. And I might be eating my words later. I just don't like Russell Wilson, and I love Jameis Winston, so it's kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, as a Giants fan, if I were a Giants fan, I probably would have wanted them to stick with Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah, but
just to get another top 3 pick next year.
That ship sailed though.
The whole Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, that whole realm is just gonna get you to 7-8 wins.
Hey, that's double the wins we've had in the last few years.
Right, but you're gonna be just out of the area where you can draft a good quarterback. I don't know, these half measures at quarterbacks are bad to me. I wish that Bill never got Cam Newton and just rocked out with Jared Stidham, and I mean, we would have gotten Trevor Lawrence instead of Drake May, and that would have sucked. But
see, so you really never know.
But
you
still,
really never know. You could have drafted.
You can't expect.
You could have won the Super Bowl
though.
And drafted Lamar Jackson the next year, like the Ravens. Well, no, I'm sorry, the Ravens got traded that. The Patriots
to the Patriots, I think.
So, but either way, you could always move around, and you could always get a really good quarterback. Not necessarily 1, 2, or 3. Sometimes you get lucky.
You do. It's like a quarter of the. I think it's a quarter of the starting quarterbacks were taken outside of like the top 10. So yeah, you could get lucky, but you probably won't.
Yeah, or you could just trade up and just be weak in your defensive line, or whatever you trade. Okay, so to cover the things that the other movements that I had here, I had DK, which you covered. I had Rodgers because it's funny to see what Rodgers is doing today. I had the Darnold and Cooper Kupp additions to Seattle, which we also covered, and I had the Geno. The only thing that we didn't cover in the 10 that I came through with is the extensions given to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins by the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a huge move, and I'm surprised it didn't crack my top 5. The Bengals will be electric for some time, and so, just like the Eagles.
That's all they'll be.
Yeah,
no offensive line, no defense.
But here's the thing:
just receivers.
The Bengals are locking in their powerful offensive weapons, just like the Eagles did, except the Eagles also have powerful everything else. So I'm not saying that the Bengals are as good as the Eagles. They're way better because the Eagles suck. Anyways, moving on. That's it.
The Bengals who didn't make the playoffs are better than the Super Bowl champions
this year. Coming through.
Yeah. This is why no one listens to us.
Listen, man, the Lions should have beat Washington, and they would have beat the Eagles to make the Super Bowl. And the Bills should have beat the Chiefs, and they would have destroyed the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Let's just be real, man.
Realistic.
Let's just be real. We're not rooting for the Eagles anymore. That last episode that you watched is not something that's real. It was just it was something in the
not
air.
Not rooted in reality. It's just a fleeting moment of time.
Somebody must have spiked my drink several hours before.
That was you. You spiked your own drink.
I spiked my own drink, and I spelled Eagles wrong a bunch of times to make fun of their mayor. So anyways,
that was probably the most fun part about the Super Bowl, other than watching Mahomes lose.
Yeah, and everyone throwing a dart. That was a fun time.
That was pretty cool.
That was fun.
Well, not everyone, because Colin threw like 7 darts.
Yeah, I think it was 8.
Yeah, maybe.
And then all he did was take a shot. We've seen him do that shit plenty of times.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, our next part of our pun down, our free agency talk, we're gonna talk about the home teams, man. Like this podcast is for our fantasy football league. If you're not part of our fantasy football league, please continue listening. We're talking about teams that our league mates are fans of, as well as ourselves. So we're gonna start with our teams. We already kind of touched upon a lot of stuff, but we're gonna kind of give you a little in-depth touch on 6 different NFL teams.
Yeah.
Starting with.
All right, folks. Let's dive into some of the biggest storylines this offseason for our league's home teams. I'll be talking AFC teams in the Patriots, Jets, and Colts.
And I'll be talking NFC teams in the New York Football Giants, the San Francisco 49ers, and I almost said the Indianapolis Colts. The Philadelphia ELGLES.
All right, let's break it down. Starting with the New England Patriots, the Foxborough reboot. All right, so first up, we have the Patriots. This is a full-on culture reset in New England. After years of searching for a post-Brady identity, they bring in Mike Vrabel as head coach. Yes, that Mike Vrabel, former Pats linebacker,
that
former Pats tight end, 3-time Super Bowl champion.
Hothead.
Now head honcho, bringing some old school toughness back into the building.
Dude's got such a football name. Vrabel.
Right, Vrabes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He has, 10 touchdown catches? I think he's every catch he's ever made has gone for a touchdown, I believe.
Maybe he can sub himself in to help your team out a little bit.
He brought a lot of his former Tennessee people with him into the front office, into coaching positions. But it's not just a vibe shift. The Pats also spent a whole bunch of money. They had the most money in free agency, and they put $69 million into Stephon Diggs. Again, probably more realistically a 1-year $18 million or a 2-year what is it, like 2-year, 32 million or something like that. But yeah, so bunch of money to Steph Diggs. Harold Landry was their first signing, gave him a whole bunch of money. And then the big signing was Milton Williams, the former Eagle. They gave
signing.
him $100 million.
Huge guy.
Yeah, he was the biggest non-quarterback contract in free agency. But that wasn't it. They also added Carlton Davis and Robert Spillane to round out their defense.
Damn.
There weren't a lot of guys in free agency for the offense. So it's most likely that they're going to be drafting mostly offense come in the draft on Thursday, or this weekend rather. But they're doing their homework on all the offensive linemen. Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU, is looking like the pick at number 4. But it really depends on what happens at picks 1 through 3. If
you're
two
hoping that Shador goes and he's not
very
gonna
much.
Go.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Part of me hopes that Shador goes top 3 because I really like Travis. I really like Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
They're great prospects.
As a Giants fan, I'm right there with you.
But Abdul Carter is most likely the one that will fall if Shador goes in the top 3, and he has some injury issues. His foot and his shoulder, which he played through in the in the playoffs rather. And then they say that he's kind of like a weird guy, not the greatest practice guy. So not really a great like vibe fit, even though his talent is immense. And so I'm kind of hoping that the Patriots get forced into taking Will Campbell. They need an offensive, a left tackle. He's a great like locker room guy. He was he got like the number 7 at LSU, which usually goes to like the most impactful player, and so usually they give it to like wide receivers, more skill positions.
So it'll be safe to say it'll never be retired.
Yeah, no, that'll never be retired. But because he was a lineman, he couldn't actually wear the number 7, so they gave him a patch. But so yeah, it's just seems like a good dude to have in the locker room. Best offensive lineman in the draft. His measurables aren't perfect, so some people think that he's more of a guard than a tackle. So that's not ideal, but listen, if they can get a top 12 guard tackle rather, I'm happy with that. That's a guy that can start for you for 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a great position to have shored up for 10 years because that's difficult.
Yeah, the big thing is they got to protect Drake May. He's the future of the franchise. He looks like a top 10 quarterback potentially if he can continue developing. But if he's on his ass the entire season, then
your love for Drake May, man, he did much better than I expected last year. But
I mean, listen,
we'll see about top 10.
Listen, Drake had the worst offense, or at least one of the worst offensive lines in football. One of the worst wide receiving rooms in football. He had a coaching staff that didn't make it 12 months. Like he had the worst situation of any of the rookies, and was the second best quarterback in the class. So, I feel good about him.
Okay,
and this is a class that could be the best quarterback class since like the Elway class. Elway, Marino.
This year?
No, not this year.
Oh, last year. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I mean,
last year it was wide receivers and quarterbacks. This year it's running backs.
Last year's draft might be one of the best drafts of all time. You could see potentially multiple Hall of Famers. Like really superstars. But the quarterbacks alone, you could have 5 quarterbacks that end up being the best quarterback. Well, I'm not gonna say Drake. So like 4 quarterbacks that end up being the best quarterbacks in their team's history.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
We'll see. Time will tell us the story.
Let me draw that back again. I forgot about Bo Nix. He's not going to be better than Elway, but you got at least 3 quarterbacks that could be greatest all time.
We'll
in
see,
there,
man. He keeps surprising you.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that shores up the Patriots. I'm gonna go ahead and place my lovely little Eli Manning. Just for you, Pascal.
I should have worn my Eli Manning T-shirt just for you.
Let's see the camera. I got to see if he's on camera. Otherwise, it's pointless for me to put him there.
Yeah, he's on camera.
I'll put him right here.
Nah, get him. Yeah, let him drown in the Patriots mug.
There he goes. He's good.
He's good.
All
We
right.
see him. We see him.
Eli, all right. Why don't you stand, man? You're getting sacked without any pressure.
That's Eli for you. Why? She's gonna throw a pick and he doesn't even have a ball.
Yes, I don't know how he's gonna win a Super Bowl, but he's done it before.
He'll get
Twice.
2 of them.
All right, so the New York Football Giants, the greatest football franchise to ever be, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so
In only your opinion.
as we discussed, the Giants had some crazy quarterback room shifting, signing the biggest dork on earth, Russell Wilson, to a 3-year. And am I off camera?
I was trying to be slick with it.
Well, it throws me off, and I have to like pause. Anyways, so the Giants signed Russell Wilson after signing Jameis Winston. I was very excited to hear that they signed Jameis Winston. I think he's going to be a great locker room addition. And I wouldn't even mind if he was starting and we didn't sign Russell Wilson. But let's be real, Russell Wilson is a talented quarterback. I mean, to an extent.
Whoa.
He can.
I feel like we're gonna have to pull back up everything you said last year.
Look. I still don't like him. All right, let me explain this very simply. As a Giants fan, and I'm so glad I brought my Eli figurine today. So, as a Giants fan for my whole life, when Eli Manning had his little draft snafu, which was ridiculous, he came to the Giants. I didn't like him. I thought he was the weakest, like not like corny like Russell Wilson, but just like a nerd, like a when he gets hit, like the faces he makes, he just looks like such a punk, you know? And I never really believed in him. And then
Like
we won a
Mac
Super
Jones.
Bowl.
Eli Manning and Mac Jones are basically the same guy.
Kind of similar. And even Daniel Jones, except he has a much stronger jawline, making him look more manly. But Eli Manning looks like a little kid, and the entire time he was on the Giants, even after the first Super Bowl win, even after the second Super Bowl win, I still was like, he's a wimp though, you know, and he's wimpy, he's kind of a pussy. And I felt that way the entire time he was there. I only really started loving him when him and Peyton started doing a lot of like television spots, commercials, Monday Night Football.
Retired.
Yeah, after he retired, because he's hilarious, dude. So
yeah, no, Eli's great.
I love him.
Yeah,
I love him.
Big fan.
But as the Giants quarterback, I wasn't a big fan. So this is nothing new to me. Russell Wilson coming in and being the corniest guy on earth, like such a cheeseball, dude.
No, but see,
I'm not gonna change that.
You also came for his quarterbacking ability.
I did.
So
because it is suspect. Let's be real.
Well, you said he's a talented player.
He is. I mean, he won a Super Bowl, right?
He was a talented
He made
player.
2 Super Bowls.
And see,
okay.
I'm the guy who actually said that he was playing well the last 2 years. So let me shut up.
Yes. When he went to the Broncos, he sucked ass. Then the second season he was in the Broncos, he started coming to form. And then last year, you know, he wasn't too bad for the Steelers. I really didn't think he should have started.
He helped them get to the playoffs, even though they got blown out in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, and he was like 0-5 his last 5 games. So Justin Fields is a better quarterback. I still would prefer Fields over Wilson at this point. I know I'm bugging in your mind, but this is really how I feel. So with that being said, the Giants signed Russell Wilson, damn it. But they signed Jameis Winston, so I'm really happy with that. I really like Jameis Winston. And then for some reason, and I could probably tell you the reason, the Giants extended Tommy DeVito for another year. It's just probably because Brian Daboll loves the local themed sandwiches that are made from Tommy Cutlets. So that's the quarterback.
He probably
room.
gets them for free, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, of course.
That boy.
Yeah. Let me get a Tommy Cutlet. Anyways, in the wide receiver room, the Giants re-signed Darius Slayton to a 3-year, $36 million contract. He's not bad.
That's nothing.
He's not
3 years, $36 million.
Yeah, but he's not bad. I'm just surprised that they gave him that time. I mean,
he was one of the guys that a lot of the Patriots beat writers wanted. So, I mean,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's not like he's going to a new home. He's definitely getting a new quarterback, so maybe that will help his situation. We'll see. I mean, obviously Malik Neighbors is the force. Darius Slayton's a big body receiver. He could also play the other side. And
did you say Darius Slayton?
Yeah,
I was thinking of the little guy.
What?
What's his name?
The little guy, Wandale Robinson?
Yeah.
He's tiny.
I thought you said he was a big body. I'm like, what?
Yeah. No. Darius Slayton's pretty tall.
Yeah. He is.
But they also signed, speaking of little guys, they signed little Jordan Humphrey.
Oh,
yeah.
Former Patriot.
And also former Saint.
Yeah.
He's a Saint, that kid.
I think he's played for a lot of teams. I think he's a former Bronco and some other teams too.
Yeah, it really like pulls my mind. I'm wondering about like the local sandwich specialties for little Jordan Humphrey.
Ooh.
You know? It's all about sandwiches with the Giants, at least for
Humpback
now.
Humphreys. Yeah.
And then we also signed receiver Emir Smith-Marset, who's going to be the Giants' main kick returner. So I figured I'd mention him. Emir Smith-Marset.
Never heard of that guy
And
in my life.
we signed Zach Pascal as well.
Ah, yay.
Which
Give
he'll
me
probably
money.
be cut before the season starts.
Oh, no. Give me my money up front.
The Giants made some huge additions in their defensive backs, their defensive back room. Huge. I mean, Javon Holland, 3 years from Miami, coming in as a tremendous safety,
Yeah,
one
he's a
of
good
the
player.
best 10 in the league.
He had a down year last year, but he's an all-pro caliber guy.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of, energy. I feel like he's going to be just out there every play just busting shit up. And then we also picked up cornerback Paulson Adebo for 3 years as well.
It's funny, both of those guys were like Patriots, Pat Reporter Binkies, guys that they really wanted the team to sign.
You could have him in 3 years.
Yeah, no, thanks.
And they're gonna get rest because Travis Hunter is also gonna play occasional defensive back.
Sorry, buddy.
spots.
Travis is most likely going to Cleveland.
I don't want to believe that.
Yeah.
I think
You guys are gonna have to draft Abdul and
That's
I guess
fine with me.
trade Kayvon Thibodeau. I guess.
let them both play.
I mean, Thibodeau sucks though.
Trade Thibodeau for another.
You've got Burns. You just gave Burns like a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Like Burns and Carter are gonna be your starters. Might as well trade Thibodeau.
It's a pretty
But,
solid
like,
defense, man.
He was a top 10 pick, wasn't he, Thibodeau? Like
Yeah.
top 5?
Yeah, he was 6,
Yeah.
I think, or 4.
Yeah. I
Can't
feel
remember.
like you're not gonna get very much back for him, but you could keep him.
Keep him and
I guess
let him
Keep
grow.
him part of the rotation.
Let him grow. I mean, he's been on a shitty team. They've been shitty since he came in. So let's be real.
Yeah, but so is Myles Garrett, and he can perform.
But they have had bright spots. No, it's mostly brown spots.
Yeah. And Thibodeau has been playing next to Dexter Lawrence. Like that defensive line has been okay. Like there's no reason for him to be as bad as he is.
Yeah. Well, I see progression in the future if we keep him. For linebackers, we signed Chris Board. We also signed Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. And
You're just naming everyone, huh?
and we tendered Deontay Johnson, not Deontay Johnson. All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's good.
I'm naming everybody that.
Yeah.
And for our defensive and offensive lines, we got a lot of depth. Signed defensive tackle Jeremiah Ledbetter, offensive tackle Stone Forsythe, offensive tackle James Hudson. We re-signed Aaron Stinney, the guard, and signed Greg Van Roten, the offensive lineman. Also, we signed outside linebacker Victor Dimukeje to replace Azeez Ojulari, who went to Philadelphia, unfortunately. And then also got edge rusher Chauncey Golston and defensive end Roy Robertson Harris.
Who are these people that you're naming?
They're depth.
Bro.
You'll probably see
Why
them.
are you highlighting depth? All right, anyway.
Because-
sticking in New Jersey,
I don't
it is time for the New York Jets.
don't appreciate that.
Once again, turning the page
Again.
for another reset in the Jets' tenure. This time, they said goodbye to Aaron Rodgers, goodbye to Saleh, and hello to a new brain trust. Aaron Glenn, the former DC of the Lions, is the new head coach, and Darren Mugi takes over as GM coming from Denver. The headline move? They bring in Justin Fields on a 2-year, $40 million deal. It's a fresh start for a guy who's still just 26 and has all the tools, but who has been replaced by his last 2 teams. The Jets have been a black hole for QBs since Broadway Joe told Susie Colbert, I want to kiss you. So, will the Jets continue to Jets it up? Or do they finally have their QB of the future? As owner Woody Johnson said, I think Justin Fields is going to be a total winner for us. I've been impressed with him since his college days. It was he or Trevor Lawrence, and I think he is going to be really good.
He will not be struggling.
If only the Jets had the chance to draft Fields back in 2021. If only.
They did, right?
Yeah. They picked Zach Wilson instead. What the hell is their owner talking about? It was he or Trevor Lawrence, but you picked Zach Wilson? Like what? Anyway, this is the same guy.
Can you smell the
same
bias?
guy who said that he didn't want Jerry Jeudy because his Madden rating was too low. Same owner. Yeah.
What a silly Billy.
I wonder why the Jets are no good. Anyway, defensively, they re-signed linebacker Jamie Sherwood, but they lost some depth up front with Javon Kinlaw and Solomon Thomas heading elsewhere. In the draft, they're sitting at number 7. Could go O-line with Armand Membu if he's there. Maybe even look at someone like Tet McMillan or Tyler Warren to help Fields out. Either way, this is yet another pivotal moment for Gang Green that they will probably fumble.
They will probably be struggling out there.
It'll be a butt fumble.
Okay, well, I think Justin Fields has some work ahead of him, but I think this is a really good position for him to be in. I think one of the best landing spots for him specifically.
So one thing that I've heard over the last year about why it's so hard to find quarterbacks for New Jersey is because of the wind in MetLife Stadium. And Justin Fields already has ball control issues. If you ever looked at the the Darnell Mooney, is that he's on the Falcons now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who I'm talking? So if you look at the Darnell Mooney tape from the year before he joined the Falcons, when he was on the Bears,
okay,
he was wide open all the time, just the ball getting airmailed, nowhere near him, and so add into that the crazy wind. I just don't think that it's. I don't think Justin Fields is a good quarterback, period.
But I assume Soldier Field is pretty windy as well. I mean, Chicago is the windy city.
Well, right. But
right?
So if Justin Fields was going to Indianapolis, right, playing in a dome, right, okay, I would say, okay, maybe he's going to be a good quarterback. I still think Justin Fields will probably put up good numbers in New Jersey, but it's more so because he likes to run a lot. And so those quarterbacks tend to put up good fantasy numbers. I don't think he's actually going to be a good quarterback. I think that the Jets will be picking top 10 yet again next year. I kind of hope that that's not true just for Justin Fields' sake, because I did really like him coming out of college. I like the tools he's got, but
I think that's a lie. That you don't really want the Jets to be in the bottom 10.
Well, no, I didn't say that. I want him to do well. I want them to do badly, but okay. I like him. I like him as a quarterback. Like, it would have been really cool. No, he's not. But it would have been really cool if he was awesome, right? Because all the tools and all that stuff would have made for a great quarterback to watch. But I think he sucks. I don't think that... Thank you, Train, for agreeing with me. I don't think he's going to do well, and I don't have faith.
I think that Train was checking you, saying, whoa, slow your roll, bro.
We are in enemy territory, after all.
And truly... playing for the Bears and then the Steelers, those are two franchises that have been pretty sturdy. However, I just feel like the opportunities that were given to him were not capitalized on. So this will be it for you.
By him.
This will be it for you.
He didn't capitalize.
It was and it was just poor decision making.
Think about who he had on his team also.
You're right.
Like, that team was pretty good. He had DJ Moore. Who else did he have on that team? He had Darnell Mooney.
The ghost of Alshon Jeffrey. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he had someone pretty good at
tight end. Komet? No, it wasn't.
No,
Komet?
not Komet.
You sure?
I can't remember. But he had a pretty good team around him. He couldn't make anything happen. Got a couple coaches fired. I got no faith.
Jimmy Graham? Nah.
No,
He was on the Saints
that was
for a while. That was a long time ago.
yeah. Jimmy was on the Bears too, I think.
Like
but
earlier.
I think it was before.
Yeah, it was way earlier.
Fields got there, and
Way
if he
way
was
earlier.
there, if he was there when Fields got there, he was
He was a backup.
a shell of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go Jets. Let's hope for you. Pascal's hoping the Jets don't finish in the bottom 10. You heard it here first. And
Something
second.
like that.
Okay.
I do hope that they finish in like 10 to like 13. That's probably true.
So they don't,
I don't want
have
them.
the top
Yeah,
draft
I don't
pick.
want them to be able to get top draft picks. I want them to be.
You don't want Archie Manning going to New York Jets?
Well, Arch doesn't look that good, so I might.
Yeah, well,
And plus,
Eli
it doesn't
didn't look
matter.
that good.
It doesn't matter who goes to the Jets; they're gonna ruin him. So
Oof, man. Maybe they should get a new GM.
they did.
They did?
Yes.
Maybe this will work.
I guess you weren't listening to what I
The
said.
owner's
A new
decisions.
owner? Yeah, they need
the
a new owner.
My bad. All right, so we're going to pivot to the San Francisco West Coast 49ers. Scott and Colin are fans of the 49ers, so we thought we'd feature them for you guys. The 49ers had an absolutely absurd number of 17 departures, a lot of them being major.
And let me guess, you're gonna tell us every single one.
Not every single one, but almost a dozen.
God.
So essentially the 49ers for the last 4, 5, 6 years even have been a run it back team. They really haven't had a lot of movement in the last few years, but after going they go 6-11 this year?
Yeah, something like that.
They really started shedding some of their weight, and I think in the wrong areas in some cases, but we'll let you know what happened. Part of the some of the main departures of the 49ers are notably Deebo Samuel, who we discussed and went to Washington. Jordan Mason was traded to Minnesota, which is kind of a head scratcher. He did very well in place of Christian McCaffrey this past year.
I mean, they have Isaac Guerrero, and they're not getting rid
Yeah.
of McCaffrey, so
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it makes sense.
might as well get something back.
Yeah, but I don't think they got too much back for him.
And they're notorious for turning undrafted free agents into 1,000-yard rushers, so I don't think they're worried about. And this is one of the deepest running back classes in a long time.
That's true.
So I don't think they're worried about it.
But Jordan Mason in Minnesota is very interesting. Then they also lost Javon Hargrave to Minnesota, defensive tackle. Linebacker Leonard Floyd goes to Atlanta. Dre Greenlaw to where did he go? He went to Denver.
That's where he went.
Yes.
Oh, that's scary.
Yes, it is scary.
If he's healthy, that defense.
That's not
watch
it
out.
either.
Watch out.
Talanoa Hufanga also went to Denver, and he's a beast. He was one of the candidates.
That's
for,
their nose tackle.
No, that's their. Is he a lineman?
I think so.
I wrote down everybody's position except for his. Goddamn. But yeah, he was part of the Dick Butkus nominee for the Dick Butkus Name of the Year award. However, Henry To'o won that, and he has the coolest fucking name. Sorry for chopping it up in the last episode.
Yeah. You dick.
I had to. They also lost cornerback.
No, Hufunga's a safety.
He's a safety. I thought he was a defensive back. All right, cool. A safety. They also lost cornerback Charvarius Ward to Indianapolis, and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles to the New York Giants. I had to throw that in there. Just such a cool name. Okay. Otherwise,
well, they also lost their backup left tackle to the Chiefs.
see if I listed all 17, then he would have been in there. I mean, having a backup left tackle is much more important than a backup long snapper.
He's gonna be starting for the Chiefs, I think.
That's the thing.
But you did mention Charvarius Ward, who I'm about to mention next.
Oh yeah.
And you also mentioned whoever that guy with 3 names is, who you already mentioned.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could have been more discerning.
Yeah. Well, I did want to mention the more important and powerful players.
I heard you.
So his name's Demetrius Flanagan Fowles.
Never heard of him in my life.
Say his name and repeat it and then remember it.
I can't repeat it right now, and you literally just said it.
Flanagan Fowles. Demetrius Flanagan Fowles.
Demetrius is the name of the homeless guy who is on the block all the time.
Well, he's a linebacker for the New York Football Giants.
I bet
now.
he wishes.
All right, so so they shedded a lot of guys. Now they have room to add, and add they did. Starting with signing backup quarterback Mac Jones with the wimpy face. Mac Jones.
Who?
8004. Forgot the rest of the number. All right, so Mac Jones goes to back up Brock Purdy and maybe even take over his job. I really don't think Brock Purdy's the greatest. I really don't think Mac Jones is the greatest. This is kind of like a Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson situation. Huh?
It's a mid-off.
It's a mid-off.
Now, a lot of people were saying that Kyle Shanahan preferred Mac Jones over Trey Lance during that draft.
Okay.
But I guess like the front office and ownership,
they were like, no, you're gonna.
Yeah, we're going with the toolsy guy. So a lot of people said that if Shanahan had Mac Jones, he would have won a Super Bowl already. So let's see, maybe he finally wins one.
Trey Lance played one game in San Francisco in 3 inches of water, and I definitely think he had gotten screwed out of becoming something good. And now he's past his prime. On the Cowboys. Prime.
He's like younger than Bo Nix, I think.
Yeah, well, shelf life, especially when you're not playing, is non-existent. So, in the receiving room, the loss of Debo was pretty big. They did re-sign Brandon Ayuk, so that's a big deal. Ayuk will be the top dog on that team, along with George Kittle. And then they did sign DeMarcus Robinson, who could be, sneaky good, depth for your wide receiver bench in fantasy. And then they gave a 3-year deal to tight end Luke Farrell, which is kind of a big deal for a tight end. I guess George Kittle, maybe they could do like a 1-2 setup where or is it a 2-1, where they have 2 tight ends and 1 running back. I think that's what. Anyways, let's not get into that. That's
11 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, is 11?
I think so.
Okay. Well, in the backfield, they did release Kyle Juszczyk and Patrick Taylor. They allowed them to go into free agency, and then they signed them as free agents. So they got Patrick Taylor and Juszczyk back. Defensive additions, they signed defensive back Jason Pinnock, who was
12.
recently on the
12
Giants.
personnel.
It is
running
12.
Back, 2
1-2. I said 1-2, not 2-1. 2-1 is 2 running backs, 1 tight end, right?
Yeah.
So Jason Pinnock, the defensive back from the Giants, goes there. They signed cornerback Trey Brown, safety Richie Grant. They re-signed linebacker Curtis Robinson, linebacker Luke Gifford. After releasing Leonard Floyd, he'll be filling in there.
I'm noticing that, I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, I'm listing all their moves.
Yeah.
And let's not forget defensive back Siren Neal.
I feel like we had a prep conversation last night where you specifically said, hey, let's not name every move that these teams made because that might take a while.
One more move, they re-signed defensive lineman Sam Okwayu Nonu. I said that
great. Congratulations. Right. I'm sorry, or I don't know, because I have no idea who those people are.
Well, let's go to Indiana and find out about people that he knows about and you all know about. Just wait till we get to the Eagles.
So now we're on the Indianapolis Colts, where a quarterback battle is incoming.
It's very exciting.
Finally, let's talk Colts. Indy's rolling the dice with not 1, but 2 quarterbacks. Well, maybe not 2. Maybe 2 half quarterbacks, which doesn't add up to 1.
Wait, we already went over the Giants.
But anyway, it is going to be a legit camp battle between Daniel Jones, who they picked up from the Giants, and Anthony Richardson, who's back from injury. I don't know if that's a good thing. Well, I know it's not a good thing, but it is a thing, and it will be happening.
Who's their third string? Because they both get injured a lot.
I don't know. Joe Flacco is no longer there.
He's in the Browns.
Yeah, I think he's on the Browns.
Again.
I don't think that Matt Ryan is coming back to play anytime soon. Who else is an old, washed-up quarterback? I'm sure they'll pick him up.
For
the time
Aaron
being,
Rodgers?
though, For the time being, Colts fans should be really scared from the fact that they have a quarterback competition between two of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Not a good thing.
Bold call, Daniel Jones wins the job.
Well, either way, having a QB competition between two of the worst QBs in the AFC sounds like Ursi wants the Mannings back in town. Yeah, Arch Manning. I'm thinking that they sucked for luck, and now they want Manning back. But I wonder if Arch & Co. would welcome that move, considering how they ran Pate out of town, bungled Andrew Luck's career, and didn't develop Richardson at all. Jones gets a chance at redemption, and Richardson wants to prove last year's injury was just a bump in the road. But good luck, folks.
Yeah.
As usual, though, GM Chris Ballard made a couple of sneaky good free agent moves, signing Charvarius Ward and Cameron Bynum to bolster the secondary. Khalil Herbert adds a little bit of juice to the backfield.
That's an awesome ad. It is. It's great depth for JT, who also doesn't play the whole season.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, Herbert was traded from the Bears to the Bengals and didn't even log any stats with the Bengals. So I don't know if he's actually worth anything, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they re-upped some guy named Ashton Dulin to keep a little bit of continuity at their wide receiver. But
who?
Ashton Dulin. I just didn't want you to be the only guy naming people that no one's ever heard of.
Like Zach Pascal and Ashton Dulin.
Yeah.
Sitting in a tree.
Draft-wise, they're picking at number 15. There's a chance that they target an offensive lineman or maybe another pass rusher, but they just took a pass rusher first in the first round last year. And so most people think that they're either hoping for Tyler Warren to fall to them or Colston Loveland, the two top tight ends in the draft. Either way, they need something to help out their quarterbacks because the quarterbacks aren't going to be helping themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
I could tell you one thing that I know for sure.
What is that?
That they will not be adding Demetrius Flanagan Fowles because he's a New York Giant.
They might, because he has to make the 53-man roster before you can make that claim.
That's actually true. So Zach Pascal is still available is what you're saying? Possibly?
Possibly.
Most likely.
Maybe.
All right.
If he goes to the Patriots, I'm getting his jersey. That's all I know.
Well, let's go. Yeah, that's a good call. Let's go to the city of brotherly touching each other's butts.
Hey, yo.
Philadelphia. A whale's vagina. Anyways,
that's San Diego.
No, I know, but
founded in 1904 by the Germans. Get it right.
All right. Philadelphia. Hippopotamus's anus.
Thank you.
All right. So Philly had some super key departures this offseason as well, starting with Milton Williams, defensive tackle, who went to New England, which we've already talked about. Big man, big money, big loss. James Bradbury, the defensive back, along with Darius Slay, the cornerback, also depart. Bradbury is still a free agent, and Darius Slay ends up in Pittsburgh. Big deal. Brandon Graham, the 15-year career of Brandon Graham has come to an end.
15 years.
Brandon, yeah?
I don't know.
He retired, right? Brandon Graham, or am I tripping? So. Yeah, because I put retired, ? I forgot if he was... I don't like the Eagles, so I don't really care.
I remember him coming out thinking he was going to be a big deal. Took him a while to really make it happen. Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. Okay, so I was right. Cool. Yeah, he retired, so that's a big hole that the Eagles needed or need to fill. We also had Josh Sweat, the edge. He's going to Arizona. The offensive lineman Mekhi Becton going to the Chargers, and cornerback Isaiah Rodgers going to Minnesota Vikings. Some of the big moves that the Eagles made were keeping in-house, extending Saquon Barkley through 2028, which is a big deal. Move. Definitely a smart move. I mean, I wish my team thought of that shit.
Yeah.
Also extending linebacker Zach Bond and offensive tackle Lane Johnson through 2027. That's also quite a large deal. The Eagles also traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson after all the shit he talked to Houston, which is awesome because he's good, I think. And they're actually just keeping their youthful, cheap cornerbacks, defensive backs that dominated in the Super Bowl and in the playoffs in the season. In what are those guys' names? I try to delete them out of my mind.
The backs,
the rookie backs from this year. There was two of them.
There's Terry and Arnold, right?
No,
Kenyon Mitchell.
The one dude who had the pick six in the Super Bowl.
Can't
remember his name.
From Iowa.
Yeah, check him out, and I'll tell you about a little bit more about the Eagles. Exciting. They did. They
Cooper DeJean.
DeJean, yeah. He's really good. So they don't really need all that extra back. Darius Slay, a lot of money. CJ, GJ, James Bradbury, those are all great players. A lot of money. So now the Eagles are playing smart and saving some money. I hate it. Now the Eagles also traded backup quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Browns for Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a pick. I don't know what pick. Who cares?
I like DTR. He's a good backup for Jalen Hurts for when he gets hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
He's another running quarterback, but I liked his game coming out of UCLA, I think.
Yeah, he definitely has some juice. So I just hate talking about the Eagles. They added cornerback Adoree Jackson, who it's funny, we were just talking about them shedding all these cornerbacks. Maybe they got a deal because he's been around. To back up Saquon Barkley, they signed the other giant hamstring legs in A.J. Dillon. I think they have the biggest legs in the running back room in the league. Hopefully the tush push does get banned because I feel like it's just going to be impossible to stop those big glutes. Glutes? Is that butts? Oh yeah, they like touching each other's butts to score touchdowns. That's right. And then they got tight end Kylan Granson from the Colts. He actually might be pretty good. And they also got tight end Harrison Bryant from the Browns. They gave him a pretty good deal. Also adding Azeez Ojulari, as I said, and edge Josh Uche.
They got Uche, huh?
They got Uche, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Punt returner Avery Williams and linebacker Patrick Johnson from the Giants as well. And I hope they aren't as good as they were last year. That's all. That's it. Moving along, right? You have any other Eagles stuff?
No, I couldn't care less.
It pains me. I tried to get Pascal to cover them, and I was going to cover the Colts or the Jets, so it didn't pain him, but he made fun of it.
It didn't make sense.
I just really wish I wrote out a funny, kind of
quip,
backwards shit-talking explanation as to what they've done and the improvements
it's hard
made.
to talk shit about the defending champs.
No, it's pretty easy. Fuck the Eagles. So that covers our our free agency activity for the show. We're going to go ahead and move along to our next segment. It's in the air. What do we got today, Pascal? What is in the air?
Well, something that's been brewing for a couple months now. We're going to get the big man on the horn.
The big man as in our commissioner, Billy D?
That's right. Boss man.
Let's get into it.
Yo, what's up, Billy D? The commissioner of Put It in the Air is on the line and the video.
Welcome, Billy. Welcome.
Hey, good to see you both.
Yeah, literally. You're actually able to see us now. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're our first guest on the new setup that we're working with. Obviously, Brendan and I are not in the same place as usual. I do not have trees in my living room, but well, I guess I do. Just
cool.
different types of trees.
He does. He actually does. Technology has brought us so far. We are in 3 different states. How cool is this shit? I mean, years after this technology came out, we're actually finally able to use it. It's cool.
I mean, we're older, so we got to give ourselves a little bit of a break here. We can't be up to date on everything.
That's true.
So,
I have a rule for video game systems. Like, you always got to skip a generation. Don't get every single video game system. Skip a generation. It's a new rule.
That's
I
a
love the insight.
good rule, Brendan. Thank
Like
you.
I have all the even PlayStations.
Okay.
I mean,
PlayStation 2.
I just got a Switch, like literally just got a Switch, and I don't even use it. So I think I'm on the same track.
Yeah.
I haven't
Don't
bought
buy
a
the next
gaming
one, buy the
system
next
since
one.
college, so I can't relate.
Sounds like you're due.
I buy one system every 20 years. How about that?
I'll sell you my Switch. How about that?
Great. So then I cannot play it. Sounds good.
Billy could switch it up.
Yeah.
So speaking of switching it up, how about we talk a little football?
Yeah. Let's talk a little football. Bill, we have been trying to have this call since Super Bowl Sunday. We have kind of prepped you as to some ideas that have been floating around for changes in the league. And before we go over those, kind of wanted to mention like the good that comes from this, like previous changes that we've had. PPR, we've introduced that, and that actually turned out to be really fun. At first, I was kind of one of the guys against it, but after kind of just stopping the hard-headedness, that I was born with, I was like, this actually works out, and now I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Some other things we've added.
Don't
keepers.
speak so soon, because we might have some ideas for how to switch up PPR, but I think that those will come at a later date.
We'll have some conversations. I don't think that conversation will be happening today per se. I think we have some other more pressing, interesting matters.
You're right.
Sorry.
You're right.
My butt just beat
I'm
the horn.
down to talk about it because I also feel that the PPR format we have maybe is slightly outdated and elevates the role of the receiver a bit more than it ought to. So if we got time, it's fair game.
Look at that.
That's
all
cool.
right. I'm glad to hear that, Billy.
We're definitely we definitely have a full slate of things to go over. We definitely could freely come up with other things on our mind. Of course, just some other things we've done. Adding keepers last year, that was pretty fun. I mean, we had fun with it on the podcast. It's been really interesting and exciting to continue it. And I'm just hyped because I have two awesome keepers. Billy, you had two awesome keepers going into last season. I think probably the two of the best expected, but
Yes, sir.
so it brings a fun element to it. Other things we've changed, like roster construction during COVID. We had to remove a receiver and add a flex, and I think that was really good. And also getting the reserve spots in there. And then just buy-ins, like changing that over time. It's good to raise the price so the pot raises and the winner just feels that much more excited. So with that being said, sorry, I had a long spiel. I'll let you guys talk it out.
No, I mean, I'm excited to talk through some potential changes. I know you sent me a list of some things to think about. I've gone through and looked at the existing rules. I've gone through and looked at what is possible versus what is desired. Good. I also have a couple maybe curveballs for potential changes, some of which you might like or may not like. But yeah, hopefully we can fit it all in. If not, we can follow up afterwards in the chat or do whatever.
Great.
But I'm excited to get into it.
Perfect. Well, let's start this thing off right then.
Cool. And real quick before we do, I just wanted to mention, I feel like the goal of this conversation today is to potentially put 1, 2, maybe even 3 changes up for vote. Not everything, of course. We don't want to overwhelm it and go too crazy because, you don't want to make too many changes every year because variables, and you won't realize what actually is, good and what might not be good. So yeah, Pascal, lead it on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Before you get into that, I'd like to input that there may be a change here we can just fast track through if it doesn't highly affect keepers or overall ranking of players. I think that some of the things you gave me propositions on, I think maybe like we could just say, hey, commissioner, co-commissioner, and Pascal's we can agree on. But otherwise, definitely put things to vote because we have been a democracy more so than we all have been in the past. But I'd like to keep that tradition going.
Yeah, that's cool. We do have some things at the end of the conversation that we will mention that are changing, and they're simple things that aren't going to affect too too many people unless they love to just complain, which some of that is in our league, of course. So,
But that's why we
ready
love
for you
everyone,
guys.
right? We love the complaints. It makes for good radio fodder.
Sure.
All right, so let's get started on some of the potential changes. We've discussed some of them on the pod throughout the year, but we're gonna, like Brendan said, we're gonna come together. Oh, that's the new one? Oh, you got a koozie. Yeah, Bill, you might need to send. You might need to send some koozies out.
I'm drinking Lone Star, but I got my Pabst Light koozie.
Oh, don't
gotta
let
send that
the
24.
Pabst people find out.
Let them. They'll be fine. I am them.
But no, Billy, I think you might need to send some Pabst koozies out east because you need to swag us out.
Yeah, I know Colin will love that
can do that.
24-ounce koozie.
Definitely. I mean,
I have a decent amount of quote unquote ambassador dollars that I can use to send swag, clothing,
Nice.
stuff. So I may allow you guys to have a little free range on the website and let me know what you want. I'll send it out to you.
dope.
I think maybe we should make that propositions during the seasons. Like when you face Billy, if you beat Billy, like pick a piece of swag.
Right. Win a T-shirt.
So since I beat Billy twice last year, does that mean I get to pick two things?
Hey,
All right.
Yeah, you get a button.
All right. Back to it. So some potential changes that we have been discussing. The first one is one that Brendan has really been excited about and really has wanted to be taken into account is QBs losing points for sacks. It can either reflect yards lost, like negative 0.5 for every yard lost or negative 1 point for every sack. But he and I definitely both agree that it's just odd that quarterbacks don't lose anything for getting sacked, but they do lose points for a kneel down.
And they do gain yards for running. So
we do this in Ripper's League, and I think it has some
Yeah.
success. But I would caveat the decision in kind of one way is that when a quarterback gets sacked, it's not always his fault, right? We know there's quarterbacks who have horrible offensive lines, and sometimes there's nothing they can do, and they're going to get 5 sacks a game. You want a negative 5 point on a quarterback who's struggling and their best to succeed? I don't know that makes sense, but I will say that I am better able to accept the idea of negative yardage, because if you get sacked off the snap, that's almost no negative points, right? Like you might get negative 0.01 point. But if you try to run it, you try to make a maneuver and you get sacked, that's kind of on you. If you're doing it in shotgun and you get sacked, that's kind of on you. So if I had to give my opinion on it, I would say not for sacks, but for negative yardage. The amount, I'm not sure what's right, but I feel like I lean more towards negative yardage than negative points on sacks.
I agree with that. That's where I fall also. I think it makes more sense to lose per yard because a 20-yard sack is not the same as a 2-yard sack, and those should be reflected. So I agree with you on that. Is it possible? Is that something we can do through the platform?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Just to jump on that, Jay's League is also on the same platform, and he does minus 1 whole point per sack, which I think is a little extreme. I think maybe minus a half a point or basically 0.1 yards per.
I think it should be
0.1 points per yard.
I think it should be the same as running the ball. If you get
yards,
if you get 0.1 points for every 10 yards, you should lose 0.1 points for every 10 yards. Like it should be the same on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I think that's more appropriate because I think with us doing PPR, and there may be some negotiations on the value of the points per reception and likewise negotiations on point per carry. I don't want to have the negative on sacks be so severe that it pulls the value of the quarterback too low. I think it's a little too high as it is, but if we adjust PPR and we adjust PPC, I think we could find a way to make it a bit more equitable across the 3 positions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 0.1 per negative yard or negative 0.1 per negative yard.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a rushing yard is 0.1, a negative rushing yard is minus 0.1. The running back gets the ball and loses 3 yards. That's what happens. You get minus 0.3.
Okay,
So
cool.
I feel like
I mean,
quarterback
I'd
should
say-
just simply be the same.
Yep, cool.
I'd say let's put this. I don't think we need a vote on this one. I think this is sensible, and one of the people who might complain, Ripper already has this in his league to some extent. So I think we're good to.
I think that we can push it through. However, anyone who's listening to this, if you have some kind of an objection to something that we decide to push through, bring it up in the chat. It's always worth discussing. And if we find that there is enough of a pushback against it, then we can put it up for a vote. Because stuff like this, I mean, if we don't do it, it's not going to be the end of the world, and it's not going to materially change too much. But I think most people will likely agree, and I don't think we'll have much pushback against it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's keeping a quarterback this year. There might be an exception, but so I don't think it negatively pulls back value on many.
When we,
unless you've got Bo Nix and they want to pull a fucking 9th round for that, I don't know.
Well, it's gonna be the same value because it's gonna affect each and every quarterback. I mean,
well, not really, because quarterbacks like Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, they tend to draw a lot more sacks. Obviously, Tommy's not playing anymore, but Tom Brady was notorious for getting the ball out quickly and not taking sacks. So like there will be a little bit of a benefit, but you're talking about players, you might get like a few dozen sacks on the year. It's not going to be a huge amount of points, but it will have some effect. And if you're really digging deep into the analytics, then it might sway you towards one quarterback over the other. There might be an effect. So
as a devil's advocate to this, what I like to consider when doing a negative stat reduction to a player is also doing a corresponding positive stat addition. I think there are capabilities of having additional points for quarterbacks when they have 300, 400, 500-yard games. It may be a point or two extra, but having a bonus attribute for when they do go above and beyond everything else. Kind of like the idea.
That is interesting, and I've seen leagues with that. I've played in leagues with that, and I feel like that would be a separate.
I've played in leagues like that too, and I actually was not a fan. I think it's just like it's adding too many points. You end up with these huge scores, but it's not like, I don't know. I think that, as you said before, Billy, the quarterbacks are already a little inflated. Their points are already a little inflated. So I think that doing a little bit of a drawback, I would vote against having a positive counterbalance to it.
Look,
just playing a little devil's advocate here. I've had a couple of tequilas, so
yeah.
Look, this conversation for this point has been ruled. It's just so obvious. I mean, if anybody gains yards, they get points. If anybody loses yards, they lose points. Quarterbacks should not get this bubble because they get sacked.
Exactly.
They should lose the yards. So let's put it to yards. Same thing. If you lose, now we have to make sure that the platform's going to allow that, though, Bill, because
Billy said it did.
Only allow you to lose a half point or a full point for sacks.
Yeah. So I believe it does because I've seen it in other leagues. However, I did go in and look until we fully activate the league, which I think there's a point in time like cut off, and maybe after the draft, whatever, like you could officially reactivate your league. Yeah. I wasn't allowed to go in and look at the adjustment capabilities of points. So because we're still on the playoff designation on their platform, they haven't updated their internal crap. So we will make sure, but I am almost 100% certain that this is possible.
All right, cool. So let's table this. Let's table this and move forward because we all agree.
Before we do, the actual NFL stats don't include yards lost for sacks. So it might be difficult and it might not work for the yards to be, without manually entering.
They do though. The NFL stats put it into their passing.
They're categorized as negative yards on rushing. So when a quarterback leaves the yard of scrimmage and runs and gets stacked, That's negative rushing yards.
But
We
that's
may
counted.
we already may be accounting for this, and that's worth checking.
We are, because it's like this. If they get sacked and if it goes in the books as a sack, they don't lose the yards officially. So we might have to do like a half a point per sack, because it might come to that where we can't put the yards lost if it's not going to register as their rushing yards. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So if we can get full season stats on these sort of things, what I will volunteer to do is do a little simulation on quarterback stats. And if we can get the information of how many sacks they had and where they fall in the total league ranking, and we can readjust for half a point, quarter point, 0.1 point, etc., we can see how their distribution across total league rankings adjusts based on how much penalty we give them on a sack, and see what makes the most sense.
Okay.
Again, if we can get like a full set of season stats game by game, like I'll do the math on it. But yeah, that's a great point to bring up. I didn't know that. I assume this is possible, but yeah, we'll do it. We'll do the math on it.
Yeah,
cool.
Just based on the stats, I think it would pose an issue. So it might have to be per sack. So we'll figure that out, and maybe a quarterback loses an average of 3 yards a sack.
We'll figure it out. That's the real point, is that we'll figure it out. The ideal is that we'll do it per yard, but we can't make that determination now, so we'll figure it out when we get to it. But we're going to switch it up to where quarterbacks are going to lose points on sacks. Okay?
Yes,
Cool.
All right. What's the next one?
All right. So next we want to open trades before the draft. So this was something that I was a big proponent of, and I know that you had mentioned to Brendan that there might be an issue with this. So I'll let you go forward with that, and if it is something that we can do, then I'll go to explain why.
Yeah, so this is the kind of there's two things about the draft, and I think we can tackle them both at the same time. So the rules on drafting is that there's 3 settings for when you can close a draft, and that's it. So we can't open drafts we can't open the trade option before drafts. However, what we can do is everybody knows their team. They can look at their team. We can make agreements between 2 pairs. So say Brendan and I decide to trade 2 players, and we are doing so explicitly because we want to keep them. Otherwise, there's no reason to trade, right? So we want to trade one person that from my team he wants to keep, and one person from his team I want to keep. We can determine their relative keeper positions in the draft.
Okay.
So Brendan would keep the player I want at the position of the player he wants to keep, right? Vice versa. And I may be thinking about this not quite the right way, but hopefully you're kind of catching my vibe. But like, we can basically pre-program in the draft position of the player you want to keep. So if you want to, let's make it more specific. So I have
Kyron.
a running,
You have Kyron.
who, because I kept him last year, this year would have to be capped at a position 9. You want to trade for him? I would keep Kieran at 9 in my spot, and I want to trade for somebody you're going to keep at position 4 because he's a very high-ranking guy. You would keep him at 4. Something like that.
It would have to be the opposite way. He keeps his guy at 9, and you keep Kyron at 4, because if you're trading Kyron to him, he gets the benefit of the 9th, of keeping him at the 9th round, and you have to take.
His 4th.
Huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he still gets to pick his 4th pick.
Right.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like I think this is the booze starting to kick in.
It's all good.
But point being is that there's a way to accomplish it with planning and like writing it down on paper and making it happen. You can't do it through the platform, but we can do it through like back end kind of like
So that's good to know. What I'm wondering is, can I trade Rashee Rice to someone else for a 4th round pick, and then I get their 4th round pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a 4 for 4. What becomes more tricky is if you want to give a 4 and a 7 for somebody's 2 or something like that.
No, I don't.
Then
I don't think.
Do you hear what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I don't think
2 for
people
1 becomes trickier than just anything else.
I don't think
We can
people
make it
will.
work.
I don't think people will really trade draft picks like that. Although they could. I'm looking more so at like trading a player for a pick. Like if you have 3 great keepers, then you can trade one of your keepers to someone else for a draft pick, and then now you have 13 draft picks instead of 12.
It works the exact same way, and that the person you trade to at that pick, so say you're, whatever you said, you're trading for a 5th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Their 5th round pick, you two have to be tight like this in communicating what's available and what does that person pick for you.
So they have to pick, and then you perform the trade?
And then after the draft, we can do the switcheroonie.
Okay. So if anybody wants to get involved in such a wild situation, like Pascal's trying to trade away, obviously, one of his potential keepers for next year. So, or in the future, feel free to bring it up to us and we'll let you know if it could be done. I'm sure anything could really be done if you really want it to, and if it's fair, if it's like something that we would agree on.
Now,
there's workaround. I think this feeds in pretty well to one of the other topics you had, is that you mentioned opening trades until playoffs. I looked, NFL only allows 3 options. No deadline of like November 11th, and deadline of November 22nd.
wow.
So we can say no deadline and allow trades up to the playoffs. Anything after the playoff, obviously, we would all have to veto if like Brendan and Colin try to like pull some shenanigans or pass a trade in mid playoffs.
Why would it be me and Colin? Colin doesn't trade.
It's no offense. But we could open it up to no deadline, but internally discuss and agree upon having a deadline, and it's just up to us to police that. Hopefully we wouldn't have to, but
so
there isn't any, we can't say like, here's the date where the deadline exists. It's either those 2 dates they give us, 11th and 22nd,
or no deadline.
Or no deadline.
So now I would
That's
like
no deadline is the choice.
I would like to say that I think that this will deserve more of a conversation, because I personally think that you should be allowed to trade during the playoffs. But the trades, like, as long as you're not collaborating with someone else. But like, if you're doing a fair trade, like I want to trade you a good player that is not a keeper, like my 1st round pick for your keeper who's worth a 1st round pick. I think that those trades should be allowed.
So I agree and I disagree. So if we know we have enough activity and monitoring in the league to police suspicious trades in the postseason, I would say that's true. That if you want to have a fair trade that is equal for both parties, and you're in the playoffs and get somebody to help you, and the person who's not in the playoffs gets keepers that they can use, and we can all say collectively we agree, cool, that's kosher. But what I worry is that you need a certain percentage of people to veto a trade. And we all know that once we hit playoffs, there's a chunk of our league who goes offline, AFK, not paying attention. And it could be the most horrendous thing. And like, are we going to be able to get Baba to sign back online to like veto a trade where Brendan's getting a number 1 quarterback for fucking trash?
I see it a little differently. I think that that's one way to veto it, but also you can have a straight up commissioner veto. And so whoever is playing the person who made the trade, right? So Brendan and I are Brendan and I are playing in the playoffs, and Baba trades him Derrick Henry for Raheem Mostert, right? I can come to you and be like, I think that this is a BS trade, and then we can either trust the commissioner or the co-commissioner Brendan in case you're the one that's involved in the game. And then we can go to the chat and be like, whoever's in here, do you think I'm right to veto this trade? And we can kind of go through it like that and not have to go through the official veto channels.
I mean, that's a valid point, and I'm open to it. I don't like making unilateral decisions. I hate being under the gun to reach out to the chat to say,
Sure.
Is this right or wrong? We have a game time in 3 hours. Nobody's awake. What are we going to do? I mean, I did that for you this year, Pascal, and I got shit about it from like half the league.
Yeah.
Was that Polkgate?
That was Polkgate, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd rather not have to make commissioner decisions.
But so the difference between what happened with Polk and what would happen in a trade is that a trade takes a couple days to be ratified. So at least we always have a couple days, whereas, an ad drop is different.
I mean, guys, how many trades do we actually make in our league anyways? I mean, come on. Like, I would love to see more, but...
I think that we could see a lot in this scenario because it's like if you're out of the playoffs and you're looking for a good keeper and you have a good person to give up for it, then you can see a lot of trades that way.
That's true, yeah. That is true.
But you could also see a lot of shady shit where I'm like, yo, Pascal, I'm out. Yo, send me a fucking quarter of weed through the mail. And I'm about to give you fucking Lamar.
But so that's why I'm saying, like, we can easily just veto it through the commissioner, and then there you go.
But what if the commissioner does it? What if I do this shit?
Then that's why we have Brendan. That's why we have. That's why we have you. If you two collude.
Hey, Bill, I need to talk to you after this call.
Then maybe we make me the third commissioner or something, and I veto both of you or something. But like, I think that it's definitely something we should discuss in the chat and see how everyone else.
All right, real quick, as long as we could rename Polkgate, what's his face gate?
I don't know.
What's his face?
Who are you talking about?
I don't know. Some guy.
Kevin Gates? Like, I don't know. All right. Since Brendan can't remember what the fuck he's talking about, we'll move along.
No, what's his face? What's his face gate? I'm talking about Polk. Nobody is going to remember this dude.
His name is Polk.
This is the most airtime he's had.
Oh, you're actually saying change it to what's his face gate?
Yeah, because nobody's gonna remember who he was.
Polk he is a legitimate piece in New England's future.
Yeah. Said the guy from New England.
Thank you, Billy. Giving us hope.
When May starts getting in his groove and Polk starts catching balls, and they get some fucking O-line help, and they get some other receivers.
Hey, Bill, get your lips off Pascal's teeth, all right?
No.
Billy,
New England is about to trade away their draft pick to get a bunch of like pieces. They don't want Gentry, whatever his name is.
Genty.
Gentry. So that's what I'm reading. I was just reading before this call that they're gonna trade their pick to who was it?
Chicago?
Raiders, the Vegas Raiders.
No, Chicago. That's the most recent one.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I don't think the Jags are going to take him, I think.
I don't think it's going to happen.
We'll see. I think the Giants might trade out of 3, bro. I don't know. They're kind of nervous about a duel.
The quarterbacks they need right now, so I think they will trade out of 3 if they can get a 6 or a 10 and future number ones. I think the Giants will.
So you got to remember,
trade out of 3 or trade into the first round.
Listen, we're not here to talk about the draft. We're here to talk about rule changes for our fantasy league.
4 hours.
But since we're on the draft, I will say Bill Belichick said that everything is lies until about 12 to 24 hours out from the draft. So unless you heard it like now, they're probably lying.
Wait, who said that?
The greatest of all time. All right.
Yeah,
so,
what's your next one? What you got for me?
So now we've got, all right, those are the 2 trade ones. All right, draft positioning. So this is something that I suggested on the podcast. And
I love it.
Thank you. I love you. And I think that we should switch up how we do draft positioning. I don't think that it should be random anymore. And I think that it should be based off of the season before. I think that now that we're doing keepers, all of the seasons are rolling one into the other. We're getting closer to a dynasty league. And so I have an idea on how we refashion the draft so that we make the season important for almost all the teams through the end of the regular season.
And more importantly, the playoffs count for everyone now.
That's what
so
I
it kind of
said.
It kind of, well, you said for the whole season, but the playoffs is really what it is. People won't kind of sign off with this idea. Knowing that there's still something to play for. Go ahead,
this is how it would work, right? Once the playoffs start, we already know we have a consolation round for everyone who's out of the playoffs. What we would do is we would make it so that whoever wins the consolation round, they get to decide what spot they want to draft in the draft. So they can either pick first overall, they can pick fifth, they can pick 12th, whatever. Wherever they want to draft at. I was thinking at first that they should automatically pick first overall, but that's not always the best place to pick. And so I think that it should be up to the individual to decide what draft position they want. And so it goes basically whoever wins the loser bracket gets first pick. Whoever gets second place gets second pick, third pick, fourth pick for all the losers. Then we go.
Wait, Bill.
Then we go the inverse of the playoff outcome. So whoever gets eighth place gets the fifth pick, et cetera, et cetera.
Winner gets whatever's left over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Okay.
So if we were keeping our entire teams and its NFL style and the worst team gets the first, I get it. I get that 100%. However, with our leagues, you're keeping just two people, and a lot of who is good or bad is determined on one or two injuries. It's not determined based on overall strength of team. It's not based on the strength of the manager of that team. It is a lot by chance, a little bit by skill. So what you're telling me is that the people in the bottom 1/3 are going to get the best position in the draft, the best first players. And then you said there's argumentative things you could say about, like, all right, the first 4 or 5 people are risky as being running backs or injury prone and like yada yada. But what you're really telling me is that as a person who lucked into a healthy team, who maybe didn't create any negative drawbacks on their league performance by fucked up trades or bad ad drops, I'm getting penalized. I don't think that this is creating equity. I think that this is artificially elevating teams who happen to have bad luck or bad performance. I.e., you got a team like Sean, who isn't a bad manager by any means. He didn't have the best keeper options, but despite that, kept a couple players. They ended up both getting injuries really early. He's going to be at the bottom.
But
hear me out. He's going to be at the bottom of the rankings, therefore the top of the draft. That's an advantage for him. He's a smart, good, capable manager. So I don't think that there's equity there. When we weren't doing keepers, I had proposed doing reverse snake for order. And the more I thought about that, I don't think it makes sense. I would rather do random or order based on some arbitrary factored competition. That we do something online, we do something in person that determines the draft rank. I think that's more engaging, it's more fun, and is less susceptible to creating artificial bias. I don't want to create artificial bias, and you may pontificate that it is or isn't, and I don't think any of us can say. But at the end of the day, it probably is creating bias.
Well,
so
if
I
you remember,
random or competition, like let's see who can fit the most marshmallows in their mouth, or fucking who can kiss Brendan's mom the most. I don't know, but like Let's create a
I win.
competition. I don't know, bro.
So I am definitely all for a competition. I think that they're a lot of fun. We see a lot of great options online these days. I'm not against that. I do think that. So once upon a time, I was told that the playoffs are important because it is fashioned after how the NFL does it. And so that was one of my arguments to doing it this way, is trying to fashion it after how the NFL does it. But it's also about making the season mean something, or really making the playoffs mean something for the teams who are no longer in it. And so I thought that this was a good way to actually make the playoffs mean something for the losers bracket. But I think that maybe this is a good one to put to a vote and to put to a conversation on the chat, because we don't agree. And I think you have some really good points.
I think your point about making the postseason for the contenders more valuable is something we need to solve. But I don't think that attributing that to draft order is the right answer. So I like to adhere to this idea of rule of law, where you don't create rules that intentionally favor or disfavor individuals. And I think that this violates the rule of law by intentionally favoring people who do bad. And they're not doing bad by structural elements to our league, or by being bad league.
But think about what you said, right? Think about what you said. You said that, like in Sean's case, obviously Sean is a very good manager. He won, twice in a row? Am I mistaken? So, he's won enough times that we all know that he's more than capable. Obviously better than at least one of the people on this screen.
We're give him a number one
pick. But just listen. Just listen. You were saying that in his case, or in many cases, people get unlucky through injuries and things like that, things that are out of their control. So this is a way of being like, well, you were unlucky this past season, so your luck comes into this next season. So it's kind of balancing out the luck from one season to the next.
But guys,
if I'm not going to win, I'd rather be unlucky every year and then win once every 4 years because I'm unlucky. It doesn't make competition.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't want to go.
I can't complain.
You wouldn't want to go 4 years of.
I'd rather be injured and have a leg up. And get one pick.
The thing about this is, simply put, this is not changing anyone's luck in terms of what position they think is best in next year's draft. If it's randomized, which we've always done it randomized, right? Except this past year, because of keepers, we can't hit random. We have to input it. Remember, we had to do that in order to
still did it random. We just did the random.
It was random.
We did. Yeah. Oh yeah, no. But we had to select. We had to select it ourselves. It wasn't the NFL computer.
But that was still random.
It was still random.
Not my argument. I'm saying we're gonna have to decide some way to decide draft order, which of course everybody's gonna be down for. However, this idea doesn't necessarily give people an advantage. It just gives them something to keep playing for. It's really not.
I disagree, impactful. Brendan. It fully gives them an advantage. It gives the loser bracket. It gives the losers bracket an advantage by them getting to pick the first four slots, whereas random is completely random. Like Billy's right; he's completely right that it does give them an advantage. However, the thing that I disagree with is that, or I guess not really disagree with. I just think that it evens out. Like if you have a really unlucky season, then you get to be lucky in the draft. That's all.
But you don't need to get lucky in the draft if you have at least a pick or two that you feel confident in as keepers. And if you don't, then you get to draft a whole new team.
But everyone's got that, though. Everyone's equal across the board with that.
I think most people would agree. You may get people like Sean or Baba, or even, dare I say, Colin, who haven't done too well, who might want to vie for next year getting an advantage pick in the draft. But I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Put it this way. All right, what position would you say is the best position?
There is no best position.
Okay. So it changes every year, right?
hold on.
right? I mean, it changes every year. Like for the draft, if you're doing mock drafts, you're like, I want to get the 6 or 7. I want to get.
You want top 3, or you probably want bottom 3.
Okay, but
Because-
Mike Longfellow would disagree. He would say first overall pick, and then he would select Christian McCaffrey last year, and then Mike Longfellow's first overall advantage to himself is out the window.
The luck of the season that comes is a different factor than giving somebody luck in the draft. Like you can't. It's a logical fallacy to connect the two as being the same thing.
I get it. It's not.
You can't give one person 1,000 scratch offs and then give one person 10 scratch offs and say, oh, well, they had the same odds because the 1,000 scratch offs got $100 and this other dude also got $100. Like that's an inconsistent logical fallacy. Like that isn't the way things work.
Some things work that way. Like the NFL draft.
Life works in a way and sucks, but we control the way things work.
Right.
And we don't want it to work.
I do think that we are rolling one season into the next more and more with keepers. I do think that if someone gets unlucky in the 2025 season, that it is fair to balance that out for the 2026 season, at least for the draft, because as we have things set up right now, there is no balancing act for being unlucky in one season and lucky in another. And so this kind of balances it out. But I think that this is a great debate, and I think that it's worth having in the chat and seeing what other people think.
So we have keepers who get added one draft position every year, which balances out success, because if I want to keep my 2 running backs, which we all know are probably the 2 best keepers in the league, I have to pay one more round. And even that is still a steal. And you can try to convince me otherwise, but that is a balancing towards equity. What I will say is if we go to later years where we say instead of 2 keepers, we do 3, we do 4, we do 5. We make it more of a dynasty league, which would be fucking amazing.
I hope we can get there.
I could see your point of view making a lot of sense. Whereas we have 5 players we keep, and there's rules about how we can keep them, then maybe your rule makes sense. But with just 2, I think it's a little unfair.
Yeah, I think that that's a great point. And yeah, like I said, I think that we should continue this conversation in the chat, see what everyone else thinks, and then put it to vote. Cool.
All right.
Great.
Cool, dude.
Next, we have PPC, point per carry, is on the docket. The idea is... Okay, so the idea is 0.1 points per carry, so that, because like, and I know you both said you're down, but just so that everyone listening understands where we're coming from, my argument to Brendan when I first brought this up over the season was that a wide receiver who catches 20 passes for 35 yards gets 23 points, right? Whereas a running back,
the Najee Harris rule.
Perfect.
He has 20 carries for 10 yards, but he had 20 fucking carries, and
right.
they won.
Right. Whereas at the same time, you'll have a receiver who catches 20 catches for 50 yards, they got 25 points, but then you have a running back who runs for 250 yards, and they also have 25 points. Right? And that doesn't make sense because the running back had way more of an effect on the outcome of the game than the wide receiver who just got peppered with a whole bunch of screens.
I appreciate your element of it. I've always looked at it from the other way, which is really kind of intriguing for me to hear you express that. 'Cause I thought, like I said, it was more the Najee Harris versus the 15 carry, 100-yard guy, maybe doesn't get a touchdown, but still deserves to have 30 points. I always thought of it like as, you've got your 6-7 carry guy who gets his 30 yards. Maybe he's a number 1, maybe he's an 8, he's like a 1B, but he still impacts the game. He gets 2 receptions, 10 yards on receptions, no touchdowns, like those carries mean a lot because they use them in prime situations. They use them when it matters. And whether it's about parity on points, I think this is more about equity of position value, right? Like you have running backs who are put in positions to make a difference in the game. And like, dude, we're not accounting for that. Like,
Yeah.
you get a point on a reception on a negative 10-yard play, but that's zero.
So
You get a catch on a negative 5-yard play, that's still 0.5 points. Like, that ain't there.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, a minus 1 yard is 0, right?
Right. Now, the other thing.
So it's skewed by 0.1.
Stop the line of scrimmage, which isn't always their fault. That's an O-line problem, maybe a missed call. That's not penalizing the running back. When they get stopped at the line, we go, man, that's 0. I love that.
Yeah.
Value for the workhorse and the guy that's
Yep.
out there. So, like the Derrick Henrys and the Saquon Barkleys of the world will get more points, whereas the Jahmyr Gibbs and the Devon Achans will get less. Then again, Devon Achan's probably going to take over completely. But
He already did last year. He already did.
Well,
We had a lot of guys starting mid to low RB2, RB3s last year, and this helps them put points on the board, and they're valuable players. Maybe not valuable fantasy players, but they're valuable football players, and I think this gives them the value they deserve.
Yeah.
I think this option though would need to go to a vote just because it's something that it very much affects the game. And I think
this
think
for me
everyone had-
was another like no-brainer. We can debate it, but I think this is a value add to the league. It makes things more interesting. When you're looking at the waiver wire and you're looking at players to pick up, are you going to pick up a 4-reception, 10-yard guy that just gets 4 receptions, going to give you 5 points? Or do you pick up a running back who actually is like eating that shit every day and like struggling to fucking be a player on his team? Like,
Now-
I think this is equity.
What I do
Yeah.
think that needs to be discussed is whether it's 0.1 point per carry or more, because think about it this way: a 0.1 point per carry, a 20 carry game gets you 2 extra points, whereas a 20 catch game gets you 20 extra points. And so there is a
Who is
huge
20?
So
Garrett Wilson.
it's a 0.5. It's a point. I think a 0.5.
I think 0.5 is
I
good.
think that's too much of a jump.
You said 0.1. It went over my head, but I think this is a 0.5.
I think it's worth discussing because we already have running backs without point per carry who can put up 40 points. So if we're doing 0.5, that's adding 10 points onto it. So we just need to, I think it's good to talk it through.
The flip side of this conversation is probably the next conversation, which is saying, do we go down to 0.5 PPR?
Well,
if we go down to 0.5 PPR and we go to 0.5
Brendan didn't want to bring that up, but I do think that it is the other side of the conversation also, and I think that the PPR needs to come down. I think that 1 point per reception is too much.
I disagree.
Yep.
I think that we have enough people in the league that feel strongly on both ends that we need to have more of a.
That's what
in-depth-
Brendan is afraid of, is that we're making too many point changes all at the same time, and it's gonna turn off some of the league members. So I think that put them to a vote.
We already have Ripper who plays 0.5. We've had Frank be involved in the 0.5 structure, and he was okay with it. I am. Brendan plays in that league. I mean, I'm calling up with almost half the league who's done it and been okay with it. So.
Well, I know for a fact that our biggest fan, the PETA podcast biggest fan, has been hesitant or at least reluctant to input wholesale changes. So I know that at least 1 out of 12 of our members might have an issue with this.
I
So
feel very strongly against changing PPR to half-point PPR and then changing points per carry or adding that and then making it 0.5. I think that's too much of it because running backs carry the ball way more than receivers have the opportunity. Like running backs are given way more opportunity than receivers.
On the flip side, you look at the waiver wire any given week, it's all receivers at the top 20 positions, like by like week 10, when everybody's got all the good running backs. The only thing you can add is a receiver. You can't add a running back after week 10. Everybody has all the good running backs. So there needs to be an equity to allow
That's
both
a good point.
good running backs and good receivers to be added.
So let's take it to the chat. I think we've all made really good points on this subject.
But wait, before you continue, I mean, that's because there's less running backs in the pool. There's way more receivers in the pool on a roster, on a field, you have 3 receivers, sometimes even 4, when you have 1, maybe 2 at most running backs.
That's
you know what I
valid.
mean?
Because we went to 2 receivers versus 3. I mean, we could say let's go to 3 receivers, and that maybe equals things out a little bit as well. But like, I don't know if that's the right move. I'd rather have a big bench than
too many variables.
Guys, I don't think we're gonna figure it out right now. I think we've all made really good points on this subject, and I think we take it to the chat and see what everyone else has to say.
Cool. Are there any other topics? I got a couple I want to bring up.
Yes. So we have 2 more, and then you can go into whatever you have to suggest. The first one, or the second to last one, I guess, is a loser punishment. So
yes.
We've seen this all over social media. There are great loser punishments, 24 hours in Waffle House, 24 hours at the bar, and there are ways to reduce your time and whatever. I think that a loser punishment would make this a lot of fun. We already have the loser trophy, which we will also discuss, but I think a loser punishment just adds a little bit of fun, a little bit of levity to our league. It's another thing that we can talk about on the pod and create an episode around it. I just think it adds a little bit more fun to what we're doing.
Yeah, I think this is one that needs to be discussed. Obviously, it has to be respectful. It has to be non-punitive in terms of like affecting somebody's life. But I think that there can be fun ways to make the constellation. You know what I mean? The
constellation. It's fine.
Yeah. Playoff run to make the stars more impactful in our lives.
It is technically it's the tournament without the stars. It's like the worst teams that don't have any of the stars. You know what I mean?
Right, I might be onto something. I don't know, but I think you're right. I think there is some value in this. It makes everybody be more involved in the later rounds of the playoffs, and we all know that fantasy football is fun, and the fun keeps going for half of us after a certain point, and it ends for the other half. So anything we can do to keep the fun going for the other half of the league, I think is a valuable suggestion. It has to be agreed upon. It has to be within reason. It has to be respectful. But yeah, like, give people a reason to have fun. Like that's the whole point we do this, right?
Cool.
It is. Billy, I just thought of something that when you were mentioning everything. I really hope one of your things that you bring up is not changing the playoff setup. Continue on. We'll go back there if we need to. Hopefully we don't.
We'll see what Billy has to say, but you might have just given him another idea.
Don't go there, man. Don't go there.
All right.
That wasn't.
So the last one on our list is the buy-in. That's not something that we're going to be able to figure out amongst the 3 of us, obviously, but
sure.
Every year we talk about, are we going to augment the buy-in? Are we going to raise it or potentially lower it? Although lower it has never really been an option. So we're going to have to put a vote out in the chat again for the buy-in. So anyone who's listening, just know that once again... What?
You know, this isn't a price hike because we're trying to fucking raise our bottom line. This is a price hike so we can reward the first and second place teams.
Hold on.
More plenty.
That's only part of it, because Brendan and I were also talking about some other reasons that we might want to augment the price, although it's not necessary for what we were talking about. Do we have that on our docket for tonight, Brendan, or should we talk about it right now?
But we don't. But basically, it's asking for $50,000, which I think is fair a year for Pascal and I to do the podcast
per team.
I think that's a fair
per team.
So I mean, on the flip side, if you guys do get sponsorships, we should be part owners of that league because we're contributing to the content that you derive your value from. So, you know, I mean, there can be negotiations on that. However, I think in terms of buy-in, one idea I've had is that we can all agree on X buy-in for final payouts. And then there can be a separate buy-in of $20 or $50 for separately the weekly winners. If you don't feel like you're going to be a weekly winner, if you don't have value, you think you're just like going all out, I'm going to try to win the season, like you pay your $100. But if you want to go in on the weekly winners, that could be a separate pool.
I don't like
that. $25, extra $50. So this way we increase the weekly winner pool, but only amongst the people who want to participate. Like, you don't have to participate in the weekly winners.
I don't like that just because Brendan thinks that Excel documents are for reading the numbers off and putting them into his calculator on his phone. And so I don't trust him with that type of complex math. And
I'm a mathematician in the brain. I don't need a.
I mean, I could set up Google Sheets to do all the math for you if you want. Like that.
No need. I could write it down.
But my point is that there's multiple ways to increase the buy-in. If say we have a Bob, a Louie, and a Sean who don't want to spend more than $100, but a few of us do.
25, by the way.
Whatever. You know, but like, say they don't want to get more in than they already are. I mean, hypothetically, we all just went through a bout of inflation. Things are tough. We probably all got paid more. We all afford to spend a little bit more on fantasy football. But if they don't want to, maybe there's a select few of us, 10,
Don't
8, 5.
Don't talk for me, Billy. I haven't worked in 15 months. I ain't getting no fucking raises.
Nah, you ain't no raise.
Money, you guys keep talking.
He stole some chicken out in the restaurant. He still don't care, I'm sure. But maybe there's 5 of us who want to say, hey, I'll put $100 towards weekly winners, and now the stakes are higher.
I'll vote against that. I'll vote against that. I just think it makes the payout too complicated. I think that everyone should pay in. Everyone gets the same payout, whatever the outcome is. What we were actually talking about was that, you know, Brendan made these amazing shirts, right? And I think that it would be really cool to have a shirt every season that has the league rankings and like the champion and all that stuff on the back. And so he can make those for like $10 a shirt. And so like if we like either add $10, huh?
Sorry, be an asshole.
Okay.
You know
No, but so if people are interested, then I think it'd be cool to either take $10 out of the buy-in or add $10 onto the buy-in, so that everyone gets a fantasy shirt at the end of the season. And then also having the buyout. We're about to get to this, but I want to, since we're already talking about it, having the buyout. Having the buy-in pay for the trophy movement. Right? We have a winner's trophy, we have a loser's trophy. It doesn't make sense to me to have the loser and the winner pay to ship it. I think it makes more sense to use the money from the buy-ins to have the trophy go around the country. And it should only be like a small amount. So basically like the winner and the second place are losing out on like $40, you know?
I like that idea. I think the league should pay for transfer fees because it's a part of the structural nature of the league. It's not a byproduct of winning or losing. We shouldn't make the loser who didn't get shit, who has to sit with that on their shelf, also pay to move it. Likewise, the winner who did something good, they shouldn't have to pay because they lost the next year. I like that. I am overall in support of raising the overall buy-ins. I think we should have an inflationary aspect of our buy-ins, whether it's every year, every 2 years, 3 years, it should go up by a set amount. We are adults, we are making more money. I think that should be a fixed nature of our league, regardless of what people want. Like, we are going to increase buy-ins every year by $5, $10. Fuck you.
All right, real quick.
So
real quick,
I think hold on. Just to respond to that statement, fuck you too, but I love you. But I do think that there's no point in setting something like having a set increase. I think it makes more sense to just poll the league. If more people want to increase it than want to keep it the same, then we increase it. I think that, you know,
we voted on the last 3 seasons and it stayed the same by barely. I think one vote had taken the lead. So
Price index over 3 years have gone up almost 30% and we're still
they have
less money to buy goods than we got 3 years ago.
As someone who is A, unemployed, and B, has never won, I don't know if I agree with that.
Look,
I mean,
all right, here's the thing.
You need a job. I can hire you to help me do my work. I'll pay you.
Oh, yo, hey, Bill,
Billy?
real quick. If
Hold
hiring,
on. So
maybe
I think this
do a
just
quick
turned
interview.
from a fantasy football podcast into a HR podcast. So tell me more.
I mean, I'm some contract. I need some help with some PowerPoints.
Listen,
So guys,
I got you, buddy.
Real quick, the trophy movement has been taken care of in the past. Frank had the trophy first. We drove the trophy to Sean because he was getting married in Colorado. I don't think that's going to happen that often.
No, I got it now.
Movement.
I gotta get it to
Marvelous.
Marvelous. Yeah.
Marvelous. Oh my God, he's gonna hate me.
Yo, Pascal, did you get you have his address, right? You got to send it to Bill afterwards unless you want to put it on blast.
I can. Marvelous also knows where he lives, so like he could also put it in the chat. But yes, I do have his address, so that is not a problem.
Yeah.
So, Bill, since we're all making more money, what do you think about just covering this one so we could change the rule for the future?
Right, because we all only applies to one person on this call right now.
I will pay to ship it to Marvelous. That is no problem. He deserves
All right, and then
it.
Babalu, you have to go through your closet to find that loser's trophy that I gave you like 3 years ago, because it's actually not even supposed to be at your house right now. I think you're supposed to have sent it to Sean, maybe?
Last year. Because Sean got last place 2 years in a row, didn't he?
No, actually, I think I got last place last year, but then won the consolation bracket. So I was like kind of like unsure if I should have like Babalu give me that trophy.
Okay.
I think Scott got last in the consolation. That's another thing we have to cover, but
Was that the last? I got a couple that I want to cover.
That's the last on our list. Billy, go ahead.
Wait,
let us know what you're thinking about.
One more announcement real quick, Bill. There was one more thing I want to cover. So we talked about trophy movement. A rule change that is already taking place. The weekly payouts will now go out at the end of the season after the winner is deemed. We're not going to have like this money chase every week. Shit, I forgot. I don't like that. I want to make sure everybody gets their money on the same day, and there's none of that bullshit this year. I don't want to be in the doghouse for something so silly.
And
send
plus,
me in the dog. Real reason.
The other thing that this allows us,
that's the whole premium in gold, and let's see how it raises over the year. I don't know.
that also allows us to do the trophy movement, because you take out all the money and then you deal with the payouts. Take out all the money that we need to take out, whether it's for trophy movement, T-shirts, whatever else we decide comes out of the greater pot, and then we do payouts. And so
And then another rule.
That's a no vote. I think let's just do it.
That's Brendan's. As far as I'm concerned, that's Brendan's choice. He's the one that deals with everyone. He's done a great job. I have to give him kudos. Like everyone has paid on time, except for Brendan paying us out. But let's nip that in the bud, and we take care of it at the end of the season.
Now it'll be perfect. So the other rule clarification, we want to just make this call. Keepers will be locked Friday midnight before the draft, so we could set up our draft board. We don't have to do it.
Do not enter them into your draft board. Let them be known. If you enter them in, they go into your 1 and 2. Like, we don't want to have a Ripper Finasco from the other year. Like,
we won't. This is going to be our third year, like at least messing with it. Ripper fucked that up 2 years ago, but we learned from it.
So the 2, maybe 3 from my perspective is I would love to see us move away from a waiver wire structure. The waiver wires are the reverse order of your rank, which are fine, but then sometimes you pick one, then midweek, like the orders get all weird because if you pick it during the beginning of the week, then you go to the back.
I think that's perfect. What's the problem with that?
Listen to what he has to say.
Sorry.
Yes. The better way to do this, and something that has existed for a very long time, is called FAB, free agent betting. So you get $100 of free agent betting money that you can use over the course of the season to make bets on any player that you want. So
it's like an auction.
No matter where you are week 1, if the biggest running back goes down and his backup comes up and it's the number 1 dude, I don't care if you're in first place, last place, you can bet your whole budget or half your budget or 10% of your budget to say,
and the highest gets the guy.
And the highest bet gets it. Now, once you've used up some of your money, you have less to use. So as the season rolls on, you have less money to give towards free agents. What that does is if you draft well and your team isn't subjected to injury, if you can use the true free agent process well, where after people pick people up and you can like look to see who they drop and you can do things and you can be a true project team manager, you can pick people up zero charge. You get more money towards the end of the year where you can be like, shit, I'm week 10. I've got 50% of my free agent budget left and my number 1 quarterback or my number 1 running back just went out. But I'm in 3rd place. Fuck me. Fucking Sean, who's in last place, hypothetically, can draft or can put in a waiver wire pick and get the dude who's going to replace my guy. But I strategically allocated my free agent budget, and I planned for this eventuality where like late season I might run into some hiccup. Now I can spend all my budget to pick up my replacement and sub in my team and have me continue striving. So I get that there's some equity in having it be reverse order of position so that the weakest teams get better over the season. But what it doesn't account for is the top 1/3 of teams who do really fucking well all year long, and then the last third of the season, they lose their number 1 guy. They lose their number 2 guy. And they go from being a contender to being, you have no fucking chance.
I like FAB. I do think that it will be difficult it'll just be a slow ramp up because people aren't really going to know how to do it. And, you know, some people like Marvelous and myself, we do dozens upon dozens, hundreds of waiver wire pickups throughout the year. Whereas other people like, I think Baba, maybe Frank, I forget. I was looking at it last year, but like there's some people who do like almost no waiver wire pickups. And so it'll be a bit of like a ramp up. But I personally think
you can be $1 pickups because nobody else is going to grab them. So you spend $1. You have 100. You could do fucking 50 of those and still have half your budget left.
Sure, I get it.
People, nobody else.
It's definitely a great system for a dynasty league. Because it's a great
system for any league where
I understand that, but I'm saying it's better.
Have you ever been in the 10th week, 12th week, and you lose 1 guy, and your chance goes from about 50% to win it to 0%? That is the most defeating thing that makes people not want to play fantasy football.
Or like this year when you had people who were out of the playoffs who had literally nothing to play for, and they were taking waiver wire pickups on guys that they weren't even going to keep as keepers.
Exactly. So this would cancel that out as well, because at this point they're not going to have the value to do that.
Or even if they do, it's more important to you because you're in the playoffs, so you can be like, listen, I'm busting my whole nut on this one, whereas the guy who's out of the playoffs might be like, oh, I'm going to put $5 on it and see if I could get it.
Fab is cool. I just think it's a very drastic. It's a drastic change for the league. I mean, if we're gonna, it would probably take time to be able to like instill instead of putting
it's
that.
It's not a big year change, but I feel like it's the next. Once we go to keepers, this is the next progression that makes it more real.
Yeah, I like Fab. I don't think that this is the right year for it because, like Brendan said, we're trying to institute a whole bunch of changes. But I like Fab, and I think that we need to keep talking about it so that people get comfortable with it, and we can institute it maybe next year.
I honestly think that this, real quick, this is probably not the right league for it based on everyone who's in the league. The amount of teams. I'm saying, dude, like our interview with Scott. Scott is good at fantasy football, but he doesn't know shit about any of the players. You know what I mean? So he's not as.
He doesn't, but he talks to his coworkers. He gets all his
Yeah,
advice.
Brendan, this doesn't change that though. Brendan, this doesn't change that. Either way, either you know who to pick up on waivers or you don't. It's more so about allocating your available money appropriately
utilizing the strategy.
That's the more difficult part. But either you're going to be active in waivers or you won't.
Here, because we can talk about the nuances and what the effects later. But I feel like this is a direction we need to go.
I agree.
The other one, and I know Brendan already hates this.
I disagree.
IDP, individual defensive players.
That's trash. It's trash.
So Brendan,
Jay's league.
Let Billy say it.
No.
Go ahead.
You don't like it because we did it in Ripper's league, and on 2 or 3 occasions, you had a player get a sack removed. It went from a full sack to a half a sack, and you lost. You lost because you were not good enough to win.
I just won that league. Bill, I just won that league, and I utilized my IDP players by getting guys who return kicks, and I won that league. So I'm still against IDP because I think it really doesn't have as major of an impact. And selecting an entire defensive unit against a team, is a better choice to instead of picking up. Literally, everybody's available when it comes to a defensive back, a linebacker, and a defensive lineman. And if they're on bye, you're dropping them. It doesn't matter if you have the best guy, you're dropping him. It's just I don't drop defensive
players at all.
Bench.
I make room. You're kind of a shallow defensive player, I guess, because the goal of fantasy football, as all fantasy sports, is to be as real as you can to actually being a manager.
So what about defensive coordinator? Right?
No, this is silly. Like you had negative experience. That's bagging.
I had positive experience. Bill,
all right. So can I say my point?
Yeah.
I personally am not a big fan of IDP. There's just too many defensive players in the league, and so it's just, I think it's a bit arbitrary, and it adds a bit of complexity to it that I don't think adds to the fun of it. If we did it, I wouldn't pout, like, all right, whatever, we're doing IDP. Now, I also, however, for full disclosure, I also feel like we shouldn't have defenses. Like, we shouldn't pick defenses. I just think that like there's nothing worse than, and this doesn't happen often, but it happens sometimes. There's nothing worse than like being up by 2 points and you have your defense to play and they get -3 points and you end up losing, or you decide that you don't play the player at all.
The solution to that is spreading defense across multiple positions, so you don't have an all or nothing. You have your favorite cornerback.
I just think it's too much.
Maybe a lineman that you rotate through a couple of them. Then
linemen score like 3 points a game. It's like such a trash system. It sucks. Sucks.
No, that is I change it based on matchup player. But you keep your cornerback. You keep your linebacker. But your defensive lineman is like your matchup play. But what it does is it spreads your plus or minus 20 from a defense up to a plus or minus 7 to 12.
I get it.
So you have a closer spread that is more equitable because, like you said, like if you're stuck with one defense, it could be the best defense in the league, and then maybe you're fine an 8 to 20 every week. You could be a medium defense, which means you're a 10 to -2. But when you spread that across 3 players, what happens is that as a collective between the 3, you get a much tighter grouping of potential scores, which makes it more equitable.
I just think
because it's much more equitable, then I could saying drop it.
I just think it makes it too complicated. That's all. I just think it makes it too complicated. Like Brendan was saying, we do have members of our league who are not that in tune with the league like that. And so adding that degree of complexity, I think, is just a little bit too much. I'm not actually advocating for taking out the defensive spot, because I think that the way we have it is fine, and it sucks sometimes, but whatever. Like, it is what it is. But I think the IDP just makes it a little too complex.
It's fun because selecting a defense, especially like Marvell,
I didn't say we need to get rid of it. Why are you arguing for it?
No. I know. I'm just saying. I'm just.
Yeah, you're making an argument that no one asked for.
So what about kickers? Do we want to do a plus 60? Just to throw it in there.
No.
What? Oh, so
more and more kickers go plus 60.
Oh, you mean extra points for plus 60? I'm okay with that.
We have 3 points for 30, then 40, 4 points for 4, 5 points for 5.
No. It's 3 points for up to 49, and then 50 plus is 5.
Yeah. You don't get extra for a 40 plus.
Yeah, I guess we can add if a 60-plus yard field goal, we could give them 6 points. I think that's fair. I think that's.
If I'm not mistaken, we've had a couple.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So I'm cool with that. That sounds fine with me. I mean, that's a rarity, and
I would even say I'd even advocate for more than 6 points for a 60, because
like a
more
7
than
point?
Yeah, like 7 or 10 or something, because those are pretty. Huh?
If you look at kickers who have done those sort of things, we've seen some kickers with 15 to 25 points over the years. Like, I don't want to get too crazy with making kickers important, but like, if you put a 60-yarder up, like, I feel like you should get at least a little something extra.
It's literally only going to be Brandon Aubrey because Justin Tucker is
no, it's not.
Parlor.
No, it's not. There have been plenty of kickers who have kicked 60-plus yard field goals in the history.
No, you're right.
There's like at least a dozen and a half.
I'm for making it 6 or 7 points. I think 10 is a little too crazy, but 6 or 7 would be cool.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
All right, cool. Is there anything else to cover? I just got yelled at for being too loud.
Sorry, Grace. All right.
Let's see.
So now we really rule clarification. Keepers locked Friday. Finally decide on what rules should go to vote.
I got one. Bonehead move of the year between Pascal and I, Bill. I know you already voted on it.
Pascal, because he lost advancing in the playoffs. Right.
So I just want to reiterate my justification for why I think it's Brendan. He missed the playoffs because of his move. So I feel like missing the playoffs is a bigger transgression.
Like I beat him for a reason.
Huh?
I beat him to keep him out of the playoffs, so I don't want to say it was his fault. It was my greatness, right?
Well, Pascal's was one direct move that was like a bonehead decision. Mine was a crafted trade, which turned into something that I lost. I lost the trade, and I got
Brendan, they're both bonehead decisions. Mine was a decision that affected one game. Yours was a decision that affected 2/3 of your season.
You bench your best starting quarterback.
Yeah, I know.
For a negative.
I know. I stand by the analytical decision making, but it was the dumbest fucking shit I possibly could have done.
I get your move because it was the risk reward with like the high end was like, man, like I need points to win, so like you made that roll. I get it.
You would have won by 14, but you lost by 16. And Julia made the same mistake because she started Jalen Hurts over Jaden Daniels the day that Jalen Hurts got injured in the beginning of the game, and she ended up scoring like 180 points and lost.
Yeah.
She would have had like 210. It was
honestly,
crazy.
I would probably vote for myself, but I saw that Brendan voted for me, so I was like, fuck that guy, and I voted for him.
Hey, 3 people voted for you and 2 people voted for me.
Yep.
We could bring the poll back up and maybe keep it live for a
I
little
think
longer.
we need to. We need the other 7 people to put their input.
So I'll unvote and vote again, so it comes to the bottom of the chat. And if anybody wants to do it, I'd say by soon.
Hindsight 2020 is not going to get you a better draft pick, so let's forget about it.
Thanks.
Okay,
I think that's everything on the docket.
That is it, Bill. I appreciate you bringing up a few other topics at hand, although I disagree with the last 2 very much. But that's all right. We're not all going to agree on shit. We do want to send some stuff to polls. Obviously, for buy-in, we're going to have to put up a vote of the actual buy-in.
But
so
we can wait for that. We can wait till like pre-draft for that. That doesn't need to come now. I think it's more important to vote on the structural changes while they're fresh in people's heads.
Okay. So what are we looking at?
All right. So everything we went through, you guys give me a yay or nay. QBs lose points for sacks.
That's already decided on. We're not going to vote on that.
We'll figure out the volume, but no vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then open trades before the draft.
Again, I think no vote. We just have to figure out how it works and communicate that properly.
All right.
Cool.
Move trade deadline to the beginning of the playoffs.
Same.
Eliminate it.
The draft positioning that I suggested.
I disagree with vote.
So
I disagree.
So then we should bring it to a vote. We should see what everyone else thinks. All right.
Okay.
Point per carry.
Vote.
I'd say no vote. Vote if we have it or not, and then amount is determined by
you.
By us.
Yeah. Maybe with some discussion in the chat, but like we won't vote on what it is. We'll make a determination based off of what basically we think is fair, something along those lines.
Yeah, if we can get like a full data set for the season and like run some stats to show how it makes it more evenly distributed and more equitable, then I think that's what we need to do.
Okay.
But I don't know where to get the data, but I'll do the math. We can get the data.
Cool. Loser punishment.
We just got to have a good idea put out there and just everybody give us ideas and let's just decide on something, man.
I think that that's the type of thing that we should vote on because it really directly impacts every single person because we all have a chance to be the loser. And it can be something that's, strenuous, whether it's like physically strenuous mentally or on your pockets. Like it's just something that affects you much more directly in a real life
So we're going to
manner.
need suggestions.
No, we say we do, but the penalty has to be agreed upon by vote.
Yeah, we should have some suggestions across the board and then pick the best ones and vote those, right? Like
the winner gets to decide the penalty for the loser, but the league has to thumbs up, thumbs down.
Some people got some fucked up minds, though. So.
And then Billy, let's
the rest
go.
Of the league has to.
Yeah, Billy, let's go over your 3 that you brought up. What were they?
So kickers are getting extra point for 60 plus. I think maybe vote.
I think we should push that through. I mean, that's probably. I don't think anybody's going to complain about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Okay. Then there was Fab. I think that's a topic for discussion, but probably not.
Probably a future possibility. And
then the other, I already forget.
It was IDP. We don't need to fucking vote on shit. Fuck IDP.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna keep bringing it up.
You and I disagree, but Billy likes it. I mean, it's something that we can that might be brought up for a vote. I mean, it's pretty significant structural change. What's that, Bill?
It's already been shut down a couple times, so I mean, I will keep advocating for it, but I don't.
So let's have open discussions about it.
Yeah.
What do we have for votes? Because we don't want to have too many votes. You know what I mean? We want to just like maybe.
All right. So what we've got. what we're gonna vote on. What we're gonna vote on this offseason. We're going to vote on if we want to change how we do the draft positioning, which would not take effect this draft. It would take effect next draft. Okay? We're gonna vote on whether we want to institute a point per carry adjustment. We're gonna vote on if we want a loser punishment and what that would be, and then we're gonna vote on the buy-in. So buy-in is regular, loser punishment, that's not a hard one, PPC, and draft positioning.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
Okay, guys, cool, man. So we got some things to talk about and discuss. I hope everybody's chat is turned on. Free agency frenzy is over, so you could turn it back on, Frank.
Yeah, and we're hosting a big draft party, Pabst Light, over in Michigan. So drink some Pabst Light as you watch the draft.
Heard you.
Nice.
Maybe I've got my sister's bandmate was like a PBR representative. Like she'd get bars to like pick it up or whatever. And so I got a whole bunch of swag like back in the day. I think I still have like a black and white PBR T-shirt. That was my like favorite T-shirt for mad long. So I might need a replacement for that one.
Yeah, we're just starting to ramp up our swag for PBR, but once we start getting it on and post it online, I'll get you guys some free shit.
Cool.
And if you guys buy some PBR or some Pabst Light, send me a copy of your receipt. I've got some free beer ambassador dollars to spend. You send me a copy of your receipt, I'll send you back the money for it.
Dope. I'm going to buy like 15, 30 racks as soon as I can find it.
Man, within limit. Call it like a $20, $30 limit per person. But
I was about to say, you know who watches this podcast,
we should
right?
definitely cut this podcast off before that conversation.
Yeah.
I already know.
I've only got 3 lot to give on this whole fucking swag and beer thing. So.
I already know what we're about to be getting on the next beach house trip.
Yeah, Tom's buying like 30 packs of Pabst Light and being like, Bill, here's $400.
Bill, I bought 1,000 PBRs. Are you going to reimburse me today or tomorrow?
Dude, you said a keg. You said like one item. I got a keg. It's fine.
I mean, if I'm there, let's get it.
Cool. So all we need to do is get you a plane ticket out to Rhode Island next time we go up. That's it.
Yeah, man. Or cut this out of the podcast, but I'll be.
A few moments later.
All right, guys. I think that is all she wrote. Again, Billy, thank you for joining us. This was a great pilot episode for testing out our new software, and hopefully I didn't fuck it up and the audio actually works.
Imagine.
If we gotta do it again, I'm free later this week, so let me know.
All right, cool.
And Pascal could just dub the voices later, and he could be like, "Hey guys, I'm Billy. IDP is the best."
I'm down for that, actually. I might do that anyway, even if the audio does work.
Anything you disagree with on Billy, you could just like dub his voice and be like, "Oh yes."
Like, hey guys, I'm Billy, and buy my PBR, and Pascal's the best, and he really is great.
And you know what? I'm gonna give you one of my trophies because I have so many, and you have none.
Next time I win, I'm just gonna give you all the money because you suck so bad at fantasy.
I mean, that's kind of true. That's true. All right, fellas, cheers. I drank some more tequila.
Yep.
I'm off, so I'm gonna get drunk tonight.
Enjoy.
All right, guys. Pascal, I'll see you back in the living room. All right, and Bill, cheers, man. Hope to see you soon, brother.
All right, Brendan, come on through.
Peace.
Peace.
Bam. Welcome back to Pascal's living room, kitchen area.
Aren't you outside? I didn't kick you out, did I?
I thought this was your terrace. Or am I even in the right state?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Woo.
Can you come back?
Come back tomorrow night.
I mean, tomorrow night is day 2 of the draft, so that might not be the worst.
That's true.
Thing.
At least we'll know the important part of the draft, and the tricklings in over the next few days will be reasonable to talk about in some capacities. But the first day, today, is where it's all at.
You know what I'm realizing is that we have mentioned what day it is on every section of this episode, and it's a different day every time.
It takes a lot of scheduling and maintenance and planning to get all this done. So
It sure does.
appreciate you being here with us.
Yep, and thank you for following along with our timeline.
And I found my shirt. It was under my other shirt. I was wearing it. So I just took the other shirt off and didn't even realize it. So
Good for you. I'm glad that you were able to find it. That must have been very, very daunting.
yeah, if you guys are interested, hit me up. I've got the Put It in the Air podcast shirts ready to go to make in whatever color you guys like. Just let me know, and I got you. It'll be a good price. Cheap.
All right, so
Cheap 99.
we're already like almost 3 hours into this. Let's try to wrap this up before we lose the last two people who made it this far.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, the draft is this evening, so hopefully we could release this at least 3 hours before the draft. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Working with a new editing software, so I'll do my best.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Usually do it pretty well, and if all else fails, ChatGPT to the rescue.
That's right. But anyway, let's move along. Our next section.
Yes. Insert sound clip here.
Boop.
Mm.
Keeper alert.
All right. So, the keeper alert. Well, we did a deep dive finally on the keepers for last season.
We sure did.
We went so deep that we didn't just gather the amount of games played and player scores. We concocted a wonderful. Is it called a cacophony or a?
No. So we developed a formula to determine who we thought was the best set of keepers in the league and rank the teams from 1 to 12. It's pretty rudimentary for what it could be, but it incorporates some of the key metrics and determines it from that.
Yeah, it's a cacophony.
Yeah, something like that.
It's definitely not a word, but it's almost a word.
So, some of the data points that we ended up using were total points, average points per game played,
Games played.
number of games played, and then we determined keeper value based off of the ending position ranking for each player, the overall ranking for each player. For the wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, they were only ranked among that group. For the QBs, they were ranked among everyone, including the wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. That gave the QBs a little bit of a discount for their position because they tend to score more points on average. I probably could have discounted the QBs a little bit more, but we'll see maybe for next year.
But they all did terrible in C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray, and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy did the best, surprisingly.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. See, I'm wrong because I'm looking at the rawest of raw data without boiling it or cooking it and making it into a final meal. So Pascal's going to help us get there with making a final meal out of all your keepers.
So back to the overall ranking and the position ranking. Those are year-long statistics. I wasn't willing to go and find the week-by-week data, so I just went into the NFL fantasy database and just took their year-end rankings. So they're not the most accurate that they could be because it includes the playoffs, it includes, week 18 and whatnot. But nonetheless, it gives you an idea, at least over that time period, what the ending rankings were for each player. Then we went into their draft position, where we drafted them in our fantasy draft. And then basically compared their draft position to where their ending ranking was to determine what their keeper value was. And then all of those major categories, the total points, average points, games played, keeper value, to determine the overall total value, so that we could rank the teams from 1 to 12 in who had the best total value for their keepers.
And all these factors play a role because, for example, we did some early numbers and found that a team like Sean Dennehy's team, which is one keeper who only played just over half the season, he had a really great overall score. However, that's without that element playing a role of, the games he missed.
That's not really true. Sean didn't have a great overall score, but he scored really well in certain metrics, right?
Yes,
so
exactly. That's what I meant. I meant to say, based on points per game, and that essentially by itself, he was one of the top players in total average points per game, but there's so many other variables that go into who the actual best keepers were, because there's so many other variables that play a role, like draft value,
all the things
said, games
that
played.
I just mentioned, basically.
Yeah. So Pascal put on his math hat, and he, even though he calls it rudimentary, it's very in depth, and we came up with some rankings. So let's get into it, man. Let's see what we got.
Yeah. So for total points, for the teams, the top three were the auto draftees in number 1, mostly bolstered by Alvin Kamara. Then we had the MILF fuckers in number 2, and Punks and Drublick in number 3, rounding out the top 3. For the bottom,
all scoring over 400 points on the season, which is well impressive.
Yeah.
And my data actually was only the regular season, so Pascal actually brought in the data from the 17 weeks, basically this fantasy season.
Well, actually, it
not
was
week 18,
14,
right? Am I correct?
14 weeks. I didn't include the playoffs for
Oh,
these.
you didn't? Oh, I thought you may have. All right, so that's cool. So
No.
Basically, we have the same data. So
Yeah, just,
those guys broke 400 points on the season with their keepers, which is great.
Yeah. Then the bottom 3 teams are G-Men's Crusaders in 10th, Captain Cannabis in 11th, as expected since he only had one player, and great rounds it out in last place, despite having 2 players.
108 total fantasy points with 2 sick fantasy keepers. But just for context, Sean scored $153, 50 points more than Colin, and he had 3 games played less. So it's just very telling that Sean had a better keeper situation than Colin at this point with those metrics.
Well, if you really look at it objectively, Sean did way better keeping just 1 player than Colin did keeping 2 players, because those are 2 draft picks that he used on those guys, and they weren't necessarily late draft picks, and they ended up doing basically nothing for him. Whereas Sean, even though Puka Nacua missed a ton of games, he still put up huge numbers when he was available, and so even with just 1 player, Sean was much better off than Colin keeping 2 players.
And then just for additional context, Babalu with 21 games put up only $173. So that might even be worse.
Well, especially when you consider that it was mostly because of Raheem Mostert. Like the tight end didn't do very well either, but Laporta is at least a better guy to keep. But Raheem Mostert, he put up no points. He ended up dropping him. And that's a 10th round pick that could have gone to someone much more productive. I believe I got Bucky Irving. Did I draft him or was he waived?
I think you drafted him because as a handcuff.
But he was in the 13th, 13th, 14th round, something like that. So you got to really be discerning about who you're keeping. Don't just keep anyone just because. Colin got unlucky with injuries, so it's not really much he could have done with that. But it could really.
That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
Make a difference.
He got burned both ways too. Let's do a little rewind. Imagine this. Imagine Babalu decided Raheem Mostert is probably over the hill. And let me go ahead with my original idea and keep Sam Laporta and Trey McBride. I think he'd be in a much better situation, especially moving forward, as Trey McBride could take over the number one position. Not like Sam Laporta can't, but in the trajectory of things, it looks like after that contract that was signed by McBride, becoming the highest paid tight end in NFL history is pretty impressive. So I definitely think that Babalu missed the bus on that one, but we always have a new season upon us to make the changes and hopefully make some better choices on keepers and get better luck as well. So
Yep. All right. So now for the top 3 players from last season, we have Alvin Kamara in first place, Devon Achane in second, and Kyron Williams in third. So kind of to be expected, especially when we're talking about the top 3 teams. It's Frank in first and me in third. Not surprising that you find Frank in first with the best or the top scoring player and me in second. And then we all know how Kyron did, so it's not a surprise either.
It goes hand in hand, and then you think about what you had to give up for Kyron, or what Billy had to give up for Kyron. I believe it was a 6th. If I'm not mistaken, it actually might have been a 10th. We have to check the data on that. But I know that Frank gave up a high draft pick for Alvin Kamara, whereas you gave up, I believe, a 10 for Achane because you got him rookie season late or in waivers.
I think I got him on waivers, or I might have drafted. No, I drafted him late. That's what I did.
So with that, those data points, like Achane blows the others out of the water based on the value you got him for.
But that's all not fully because Billy got Kyron off waivers, so they were both 10th
he did.
round.
All right. See, I thought he might have drafted him earlier. So Achane and Kyron are much more valuable than somebody like Alvin. Even if Alvin scored more points,
right?
He just was more. He was expected to do that, and it's not even that. It's just that Frank gave up more value, whereas Pascal gave up drafting Christian Kirk, for example, instead. You know what I mean, in the 10th round.
Yeah.
So these are good observations to make when you're looking at raw numbers, and it's all in Pascal's pie that he concocted. 3.4
shut up
players.
So it's all on a worksheet that I developed, and I'm going to share that with the league. So that you guys can go in, and because obviously we're not talking about all the teams, and so you guys can go in and see where your guys fell. You can see my methodology. You can make suggestions on how to switch it up for next time. But we'll put the link in the chat, probably, maybe in the comments, so that you can go. All right, moving along. Then we looked at. I did have a total points weighted rank, and what that was it looked at what percentage of the overall keeper points did your player or your team score, just to kind of make it a little bit more accurate. Because, for instance, Devon Achane scored 0.11 or 11% of the keeper points scored last year in our league, and so that
out of 23 guys, that's heavy,
right? Out of 23 guys, right? So everyone should be around like 4%. So him scoring 11%,
he like 2.5 times.
It allows us to account for how much more or how much less than the mean each player scored. So I incorporated that also just to add a little bit more accuracy to the top and bottom players.
And let me add, although throughout the season we did mention players' actual scores against their projected scores and the difference, we did calculate that data, but we did omit that. We did omit that. We didn't emit like it came out of our pores. We omitted it like we wrote it off because it didn't make too much sense. Minus the fact that, of course, it's what your players expected to do, and if they overachieve or underachieve, we noticed that the numbers weren't. It was maybe a difference of 100 points from -40 to +60 on the season for people's projections. So we figured that wasn't didn't need to be in the metrics of the final keeper metrics for the rankings. Just it's a good point to like look and see if you guys did better than you expected or not. So we do have the data there, but
it's kind of just fun to look at. The thing about the projected points is that they're arbitrary. They're set by either some algorithm that the NFL website uses or some individuals that are flawed. And so when we looked at the spread, players who outscored their projections, players who underscored their projections, and the players who met their projections, there wasn't any discerning information.
No correlation
some great
between
keepers.
The guys.
It's like some great keepers had the same outcome as some horrible keepers, and so it really just doesn't affect anything. So we omitted it. All right, so moving along to average points.
Yeah, this is an important one, I believe.
Hold on. Yeah, all right. So for the teams, and average points does not take into account games missed. All right, so that is the key difference between the average points and the total points. So this is really just what on average were you scoring when both, or in Sean's case, one, but if all your keepers were playing, what was your average score? So the top three, similar to total points, was the auto draftees in first, the Milfuckers in second, and Punks and Drublick in third. You guys will see that the three of us were also in the tops in total games played. And so obviously that has a lot to do with the total points, but also if you have good keepers and they play a lot of games, then you're also going to be high in the average points. But you can look at that for yourself and see kind of how that plays out. The bottom three teams for average points were Great in last place, Captain Cannabis in second to last place, and G-Men's Crusaders in 10th place. Now,
what's very interesting, sorry to cut in, but what's very interesting is when you incorporate, which I did, average points per actual game played, Sean ends up in first because he only had 8 games and such high output from his one guy during those 8 games, whereas Colin remained at the bottom because he did only have 11 games and had such a low score. So I know in the final numbers that we did, we didn't include games played, but when you look at those numbers, like Sean, it makes a huge difference for someone like Sean to jump from, I don't know how many points he ended up with on average, but with games played, it's like 19.
So I think, I don't know how you did your math on that, but you might have averaged out the numbers between the two keepers, because there's no way that he's in first when you factor in both keepers for the other teams.
No. What it is he's in first based on average points scored per game played by his player. Basically, 152 divided by 8 games played. 152 was his total score, and it comes out with 19.04 points per game played. So I know we didn't do it per game played.
No, but that's just all right. It's just wrong. It's just wrong because
it's not wrong.
No, 19.4 is right, but like Devon Achen averaged I think 17 points, and Rashad White averaged 13, so that's more than 19.
Yeah, and your total was 16 on average as a team, though. That's
right.
what I did it
No,
as.
that's what I'm saying. You averaged it out between the two players.
Yeah, but Sean only has one player.
I know. So yeah, but right. That's not. It was just not very accurate the way you said it at first. So anyway. Yeah, don't listen.
We've had quite a
just cut that. Just cut that.
This topic.
Anyway, So for the teams, for the average points per team, yeah, Sean ended up in 11th place and Bob ended up in 10th. For the players, the top 3 players on average were Nico Collins in first, Alvin Kamara in second.
It's Niso. It's not. He just tweeted yesterday that everybody's been pronouncing it wrong, and it's actually Niso. So everybody get it right from now on, okay? Niso Collins.
I don't know if that's a joke or if you're being serious about that.
I mean, unless I dreamt it, it's fact.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with Nico until I see it with my own eyes.
Niso, Niso.
So yeah, the top scoring player on average was Nico Collins. Then Alvin Kamara, then Puka Nacua in third. Then for the games played, for the teams, the top 4 were the Auto Draftees and East Coast Virus, who both who both had their keepers play every single game. So that's
minus the bye.
That's 13 plus a bye. And then tied for third are Punks and Drublick and the Milfuckers, who each missed 1 game other than the bye between their 2 keepers. So 25 games played total for Punks and Drublick and the Milfuckers, and 26 games played for the Auto Draftees and East Coast Virus. For the bottom 3 teams, we had Catch This Fade and G-Men's Crusaders tied at 10th. We had Great in 11th and Captain Cannabis in 12th.
You should say how many games, because 21 games for the first 2 guys that tied, 11 games for Colin out of 26. That sucks. And then Sean 8 out of 13 because of the bye. So they definitely missed out on some major opportunity based on injury and due to injury, and that's where we see Scott as well and Babalu. Even though Babalu dropped one of his keepers, we still incorporated his points in games played for you while he was a free agent.
Now, this goes to show you at this point kind of how the list is shaping out. You have Catch This Fade in 10th in games played, but then his top player was the number 1 player in the league in points per game.
Who is that?
Niso Collins.
Yes.
So that kind of tells you why he didn't end up in the bottom 3 in any of the other rankings.
Nice.
But then you see G-Men's Crusaders, Great, and Captain Cannabis, bottom 3 in games played. So that tells you a lot about why they ended up at the bottom in other rankings as well. So then you've got keeper value. So as I mentioned, keeper value is the position ranking, overall ranking, draft position, and so we combine those 3. Basically, what I did was I subtracted the draft position from the overall ranking, and then divided that divided that by the position ranking basically. And what we ended up with was the top 3 keeper values were the Milfuckers in first, Punks and Drublick in second, and Steal Your Face Mask in third.
Hey, that's you.
That's me. Well, no, that's Billy, but I'm second.
No, you're second.
Yeah. So anyway,
I didn't want to interrupt.
The way that this ended up working out was that the quarterbacks ended up having pretty high rankings because they score so many points. And so the Milfuckers was really boosted a lot by Brock Purdy's numbers. But then Drake London also had a really good season, which I don't think most people realized. I know I didn't. He was the 5th ranked wide receiver by the end of the season, and the, I believe, 11th ranked overall player. And so the Milfuckers ended up with the top keeper value by my metrics. But it also makes sense. He was at least top 2 in the league the entire season. So it makes sense that his keepers really worked well for him. And, Billy being in third, That makes sense too. Billy was one of the best teams in the league all season, made it to the championship. As for me, I did really well on my keepers, but my draft was pretty crappy. I got some pretty bad luck, also with injuries. But my keepers were really good, and that's what kept me in it and allowed me to make the playoffs. Our bottom three keeper value teams were I Fucks Your Mom in 10th place, Boston Bulldogs in 11th, and Great in 12th. Now, I Fucks Your Mom, he had... I gotta look. Huh? Debo Samuel and Zay Flowers, right? So Debo had a really down year. Zay had a really down year. And then they were drafted pretty high, right? I don't think Zay was, but I know Debo was drafted pretty high. And so
really high.
Yeah, so let's see. Debo,
I think third round. I think Aggie gave up a third round for Debo. He believed
No, I'm
in
mistaken.
him.
I'm mistaken. So Debo was drafted late. He was drafted 113th. Is that right? Overall rank? Yeah. But he also finished as the 44th best wide receiver. And Zay Flowers was drafted 63rd overall, but he ended up as the 25th best wide receiver. So it's just not good value. You're spending high for players that weren't worth it. And then in the case of Boston Bulldogs, he got stuck with the metrics for who was it? Dalton Kincaid, right?
Yeah.
So he ended up trading that to Brendan. So Brendan ended up the one with the bad result from it. But that was Jay's keeper, and he wasn't a good keeper. And so and then his other keeper was Brees Hall, who was the 16th ranked running back, taken for the 32nd overall pick. Like horrible. He was supposed
value. To be top 5. I mean, going into the season for sure.
Yeah, horrible value.
It's very bad to be even. I mean, to be in middle of the pack when you're supposed to be a top dog.
He was like a third round pick, but he played like a 10th round pick, basically.
Yeah.
And so we took all those metrics, we combined them together, and the total value for keepers goes as follows. We had the MILF fuckers.
12-1?
Yeah, 1 through 12.
No, do 12-1.
Oh, well, I already fucked it up, but all right. We have Great in 12th place.
Damn.
Captain Cannabis in 11th. G-Men's Crusaders in 10th. Boston Bulldogs in 9th. I Fucks Your Mom in 8th. Catch This Fade in 7th.
Surprising.
Salute Your Short Fellows in 6th. The Auto Draftees in 5th.
Damn.
East Coast Virus in 4th. All because of Mark Andrews ending up the 8th best tight end at the end of the season. But yeah, I don't know if you fully... and then also because Kyler Murray. And so this is why I think that the quarterbacks are still overvalued. Kyler Murray ended up the 8th best quarterback in the league. That put him at...
18th.
18th? Yeah, 18th overall. He was drafted 115th. Mark Andrews was drafted 102nd. Ended up as the 6th best tight end, 62nd overall player. So positional value for Mark Andrews, and then overall score for Kyler Murray really benefited Brendan a lot. So I think that I honestly think that 4 through 7, East Coast Virus, the Auto Draftees, Salute Your Short Fellows, and Catch This Fade could potentially have a little bit of a shakeup. Like maybe Catch This Fade is really 6th. Maybe East Coast Virus is really 5th or 7th. I don't know. I do think that the overweighting of the quarterbacks does take effect a little bit. However, at the end of the day, Catch This Fade lost a ton of games with Nico Collins being hurt. So maybe it's pretty accurate also. But at any rate, Brendan really benefited a lot from keeping a quarterback, at least in the rankings. I don't know if it helped him game to game, right? He might have been better off. I didn't really look into it that deeply, but that's stuff that you guys can do. All right, and so our top 3 are Steal Your Face Mask in 3rd place, Punks and Drublick in 2nd, and the Milfuckers in 1st place.
Congratulations, Scott. You really know about football. And we enjoyed that.
Listen, Scott had an amazing season last year. It wasn't just because of his keepers. It was also because of how he drafted. He ended up fucking himself in the end with some bad roster management. But he had a great season, and it really showed when you look into the metrics of it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And then Billy in 3rd place.
And one thing about the call we just had with Billy, you know, you could definitely lose a season with a bad draft. You don't necessarily win a season with a great draft. You just set a great foundation.
Right.
And you got to play the game through the season. So the whole conversation about changing up, you know, how waivers work to fab, obviously that's a huge change. For the time being and the way it's been with the waiver priority, how we've done it, that's how a lot of people move up during the season and change, you know, their outcome by working the waiver wire and being smart about, you know, their strategies and stuff. So obviously you could have the same idea of strategies with fab. We won't talk too much more about that since it's probably past 3 hours. But yeah, congratulations, Scott. Good job on your keepers this year. I didn't believe that Brock Purdy would be a good choice, but it turned out he was pretty reasonable, better than Kyler, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and better than CJ for sure. So other than that, Pascal, congrats to get your duo of running backs, and Billy, your duo of running backs. We expected greatness from them, and they did come through. Unfortunately, not for the trophy, but for this little trophy. So golf clap.
Billy got 2nd place, so that's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah. All right, so that is our keeper look back.
Golden.
And so use the document, you know, if you need to or if you want to try to prepare yourself for next year. But yeah, that's that. Let's move to the next one.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing who everybody's keepers will be this year. Later in the summer, we'll kind of give you a little bit of a keeper preview, or maybe even after we draft. We haven't really decided the details yet, but we definitely will be back before the draft, so don't worry about that. You want to? You good with keepers? Or?
I think what we had talked about was trying to do an episode the weekend before the draft, and that way people get their keepers in the Friday before the draft. We can do the episode on the weekend and say who we would have kept if it was our team. And
after everybody's locked in.
Yeah, after the keepers are already locked in.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that way we don't have any influence on what people end up deciding.
All right, cool, man. All right, well, let's move on to our next and final segment, 3 and out. 3 and out.
All right.
So this episode, our 3 and out is going to be for tonight's first round and maybe possible later rounds of the draft. We just did a quick love 'em and hate 'em picks for the draft. Specific player going to a specific team, whether you love it or hate it. Pick the combination. Pascal and I are just going to give you a few. We're not going to get too in depth into like mock drafting and everything. We're just going to let you know of a few players and where we think they should or shouldn't go. So if you would like to kick that off,
Sure.
You have the floor.
All right. So my first player, I would love to see Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. I would love to see him go to the 49ers at pick 11, I believe. He has a torn patellar tendon, I think, that he tore early last season. So
you hate the 49ers?
He probably won't be ready to go until like midway through the season or even like towards the end of the season. But the 49ers already have Trent Williams, and he's not going anywhere. And so Josh Simmons, he could have the time to recover and then have plenty of time to ramp up. And then he played right tackle when he was at San Diego State. And so they kind of have a need at right tackle. So by the end of the season, he can play some right tackle. Then next year, if Trent Williams is still playing for the 49ers, because he did just sign a new contract this year, then Josh Simmons can play some right tackle. And then when Trent Williams is ready to retire, they can move Josh over to the left side, and they've got their left tackle for potentially another decade. So as long as his medicals check out and his knee's not going to be a problem going forward, I think he'd be a great pick for the 49ers.
Yeah, it seems like that would help a team that has shed so much this year.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a good and a clever pick. There's a helicopter. I really hope it's not overbearing.
I can't hear it.
It's like right above me, so it shouldn't be too long.
I can't hear it. It's not
right,
coming through the phone.
Okay, perfect. Good. All right, so I'm gonna start off. You're good with your pick, your first pick?
Yeah.
All right. Pascal's got a lot of love for Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, he's a good player, I think.
I'm going to go a little more fantasy related, and Pascal's going to hate this because we've already heard it before, but I just want to give you a little in-depth on someone I would hate to see go to a specific team, and that would be Shedeur Sanders to the New York Giants. I know everything's about the Giants, everything's about my team and whatever. I just want to really go a little into this. I know you're shaking your head over there, but I think Shedeur Sanders would be a horrible choice for the New York Giants tonight, and I'm glad that recent news has not really tied him to them as much as it did in previous months, especially months. I mean, they've been talking about that all offseason. The Giants beat reporters talking about, and everyone on ESPN, Shedeur to the Giants, they need him. I'm tired of hearing it. Let me give you the reasons why Shedeur would be a poor choice for the New York Giants. First and foremost, he's a celebrity kid. So that may come with, the walking into the locker room and feeling like you're better than everyone or not even to that level.
Hold
but
on. So
just
let me ask you as you say that. So it means you don't want Arch Manning next year?
Hey man, you have to let me continue on this.
He's a celebrity kid, though.
That's a good point. It's a good point, but here's the major difference. This is a celebrity kid that's tied to the Dallas Cowboys, one of our arch enemies. His father played for the Cowboys for half of his career, and most of his Pro Bowls came out of the Cowboys. It's true. I think he had 5 seasons with the Cowboys, 4 seasons were Pro Bowl seasons. What's up?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, it kind of glitched real quick. So anyways, let me continue on why I think it would be a poor choice. So celebrity kid with Dallas ties, okay? His father coached him, so you're not just drafting Shedeur, you're also drafting the voice of Dion, who doesn't like the Giants. He's programmed that way. Continuing on. That's just one reason, and that's not even the big reason for sure. Another reason would be there's other quarterbacks that are just as good or probably better. I think that he's been bubbled up because of who he is, and people are looking at him. And let me just talk about his actual factual on the field stuff. He's too slow in the pocket, and he doesn't get rid of the ball. He's been sacked in his last 2 college seasons 94 times, which blows apart any the next quarterback that was sacked, and we're talking about over 300 guys. This is a guy that is gonna lose points in future fantasy leagues that take points away for quarterbacks losing yards.
So you don't discount the fact that he had the worst offensive line in college football?
Okay, let me give you. All right, if you want to give a discount, then I'm gonna raise the bar and raise the price and just say, could it actually have been Travis Hunter that made him look so good? that's where I'm going to drop the mic.
So
Because
here's the thing: he threw for like 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, and Travis Hunter didn't have like half of those. He had like maybe a third, maybe less. And
a little more than a third.
He was throwing to like Jimmy Horn Jr. and like LeJounte Webster, I think, and like
when he could get the ball off.
Yeah.
The Giants are not shoring up their offensive
with the
line
worst,
to be a top 5,
with the
top
worst
10
offensive line in the league.
Yes. So putting Shedeur Sanders, because of the name and the fame and the Heisman Trophy receiver, I think it would be a poor choice for the Giants. And what they could do is they could actually take Travis Hunter, if a miracle happens and the Browns don't take him, or Abdul Carter, and then trade up for somebody like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe and have just the same or better outcome.
So the difference between all those guys, every single other quarterback that's going to be taken in this draft and Shedeur Sanders, is that last year when we were talking about Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May, Shedeur was thought to be in the mix with Jaden Daniels and Drake May. And none of the other quarterbacks that will be drafted this year were. So I think that the Shedeur hate is a bit overblown. Like, people say that he's slow, and he was clocked at running about 20 miles per hour in 2 different games. And 20 miles per hour is extremely fast. And so, like, I think that it's been overblown, and I really questioned a lot of the reports about him being like a horrible interview, and wonder if it's like a team further down the board hoping that he falls.
It's gonna happen.
I think the funniest thing would be if the Giants pass on a quarterback again, and he ends up being a good quarterback.
Let me tell you something. Let me just put it blatantly. Shedeur Sanders is not an overall number 3 pick in the NFL draft, and never should be. He should have never been considered in that.
None of the guys, like, this whole draft is filled with players who are going to be overdrafted, at least in the first round, because there is no real top-end talent. Will Campbell is not a guy you take at 4th overall, but he's going to be one of the best choices at 4th overall.
I heard
Cam Ward.
One of the GM.
They were saying that some people are saying that Cam Ward would have been the 7th best quarterback last year.
Yeah. I heard a GM said that only about 10 guys are worthy of first-round draft picks this year. So it's nice to have the Giants and the Patriots in that mix, right?
Well, kind of. I mean, it would have been really great if the Patriots had the 4th round pick, the 4th overall pick last year, and already had a quarterback. Because it would have been much better to get Joe Alt or Malik Neighbors than it is to get, like Will Campbell or Tedero McMillan. So it is what it is. I'm glad the Pats got their quarterback and don't have to worry about their Shedeur, Cam Ward BS this year. I like Will Campbell, so I won't be disappointed if they pick him. But yeah, everyone is going to get overdrafted in the first round this year. That's just what the draft class is.
And none of this conversation changes my hate for the Giants picking Shedeur at number 3.
Oh, and I fact checked you real quick. Dion played for Dallas for like a third of his career, 5 years out of 14 years.
Okay, but he got 4 Pro Bowls there, which he only had 7 total. Or am I mistaken?
I don't know. I didn't look at that. Pro Bowls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He got 3 of them in Atlanta, 1 in San Francisco,
and then 4 in Dallas.
And 4 in Dallas. Yep.
Which states that Dallas was probably his best part of his career. That's how I remember him. It's probably because it was later in his career as well. But
yeah,
I always remember him as a Cowboy just because I feel like that's where he dominated.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was Pro Bowl, All-Pro, second team his 3rd year in Atlanta, first year All-Pro the next year, first year All-Pro, and Defensive Player of the year after that in Atlanta.
And let's not forget about his baseball stats.
Or no, he was 3rd in the DPOY that year. The next year in San Francisco, All-Pro, first team, and Defensive Player of the year, third in the ranking for MVP. And then in Dallas, he was All Pro 1, All Pro 1, All Pro 1, 5th ranked depoy, and then All Pro 2. So no, I'd say he had a better career in Atlanta. And then his best season of his career was in San Francisco.
Well, I think either way, I think he holds Dallas close to his heart, and maybe also Atlanta and San Fran, but that's not the Giants. And I just think that, just like, what's his name? Michael Irving. Once a Cowboy, always a Cowboy.
What? Michael Irving played his entire career. He was drafted to the Cowboys.
That's not a BS statement. Michael Irving is a homer for the Cowboys.
He was drafted to the Cowboys and played there his whole career. That is nothing like Deion Sanders. Nothing like Deion Sanders.
To each his or her own.
No,
right?
You're just wrong. This is the episode. This is the episode of you being wrong on everything.
This is my pick and my hate.
Anyway, let's keep it moving. We spent way too much time on Shador and the Giants.
We did. Moving along.
All right, so my next player is Cam Scatabo. Yes, sir. I would love to see Scatabo. Yeah, the running back from Minnesota. Is he a Gopher? Golden Gopher? I think so. Anyway, I would love to see him go to the Seahawks. To me, he runs just like Marshawn Lynch. I feel like they need another running back because Ken Walker is always getting hurt. Zach Charbonnet came in and played well, but I don't know if he's really the guy. A trade piece. But right, they could trade Ken Walker and then have Charbonnet. But Charbonnet, he played really well last year, so you have Charbonnet and then you have Scatabo. Let Scatabo get his feet under him. He's not as good as Marshawn Lynch, so it might take him a year to really get going. But then you've got two really good backs, and I'd love to see him playing in Seattle.
Cool, man. I will follow that up with another running back love. As long as you're done with Scatabo, it's a fun name to say. So just in case you want to say it one more time.
No, go for it.
Okay. So my love is somebody that everybody's got their eyes on in the first round. There's actually a lot of teams that are certainly targeting this guy, and that would be Ashton Janty. He is going to be the top drafted running back, and I would love to see Ashton Janty, or Janty. Is it Janty or Janty?
I think it's Janty.
It's Janty.
That's why
it's Jea, so it could go either way. Ashton Janty to the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know that they're not in position to take him because I know the Jaguars are favorited right now, and the Bears are looking at him.
The Raiders are drafting 6th, and the Jaguars, people have been saying they're taking either Membo or.
Well, I've seen a lot of love for Janty. For the Jags, which is
but
crazy,
that was recently though, and it's lying season. So this is when they lie the most.
That's true, but here's why I would like to see Janty to Vegas. Janty.
Yeah.
There's new life in Vegas. From a decent quarterback and a superstar tight end locked down for years to come, and especially all the way up to their brass. They fired their GM. They hired Pete Carroll as their head coach. They hired Greg Olson as their quarterback's coach, and they hired Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. Now, if that isn't a star-studded cast of guys to run this team, along with Tom Brady as a part owner, I don't know what is. I think these guys, these minds will put together an amazing team, and to have the best running back in the draft fill in for, Zamir White on the roster right now, and Amir Abdullah, I think that Ashton Janty would find a place to start from day one, being a workhorse and potentially even a top 5 running back, and that's not even far-fetched. So Ashton Janty, Las Vegas, that would be a magical destination.
I would probably hate that. I feel like that would be sending him into obscurity. The Raiders,
so?
The Raiders don't really have a good team. I don't know if their offensive line is that great. I'd rather see him go somewhere where he's like in a prime situation. Like,
stay out of my debt.
Hey, Mr. Casello.
you doing? What's up?
Give us
Doing
a
our-
JETF.
Maybe the Jets will pick up Jackson.
Jackson. Oh, Jackson.
Which
Jackson Dart.
Oh, Dart.
He wants Dart.
Oh, yeah. Good luck. Y'all need somebody.
I just said that Steelers they're going to take Shadur at 21.
Good. Get him out of New York. I don't want him anywhere near us.
Yeah, we'll see. The
I was
whole
just telling- I
Shador
was
thing.
just missed it. I was just telling him that I hate him to New York.
Who you hoping your team gets?
I like Will Campbell. I'm a Pats fan, so I like Will Campbell at 4.
Offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like everything he's about. I actually was about to say my next guy who I really like in like maybe the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. I don't know how far he's gonna fall, but I like Jack Sawyer, the edge defender out of Ohio State, the guy who was fighting the Michigan players at center field when in the rivalry game. I would love for them to get like Will Campbell and
Is that
yeah.
it? Nice.
Yeah, Will Campbell and Jack Sawyer. I would love those guys. Like some knuckles in the dirt, bite your ear off, put the women and children to bed and go find dinner type of guys. Like I would really be happy with those two guys on the Pats.
That's a good guy. Team.
It'll definitely get you guys closer to 500.
Oh yeah, we need that. And listen, no one on the screen right now needs to be talking because all of our teams are picking within like 1 to 2 picks of each other.
I'll be happy with 500.
Right?
Me too.
I'm
yeah.
okay with that.
Hey, have a good one. I'll see you later.
All right,
Dad.
Giselle, see you later. Thanks for hopping on the pod.
So you
Yeah,
were on.
Janty. No, let's go back
Janty.
to Janty real quick. Yeah, like the Raiders, I just don't think it's a great spot for them. Like they don't have a quarterback. I mean, they have Geno, but I don't trust Geno coming to the Raiders.
He's 30.
Who
He's
do
30.
who do the Raiders have for him to throw to? They've got Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers.
And
That's
they'll
it.
add somebody.
Yeah, this is not a good wide receiver class. So if you're taking Janty as your top pick, then you have to wait till the 2nd round to take a wide receiver. And there are some guys, like they're not great options. And then you've got Geno Smith throwing to a bunch of new guys. Like I just don't think it's a good spot.
Maybe they can get one of these young Packers dudes in a trade because there's too many guys on the Packers that have talent.
Maybe if they draft someone, the Packers could draft someone and then make someone available, but they haven't made anyone available yet. And so why they would have done it before the draft or during the draft to get draft capital for this year. Otherwise, they should just hold on to them and play with who they got.
I think the Raiders are in a mode to just win now, and I know that sounds outlandish because they still need a lot of pieces, but I think the staff that they put together, the brass that they put together is
yeah, we'll see.
It almost can't fail.
I think that they're better off going offensive line. Or one thing that I heard that was a crazy option was take Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, and then have the best like tight end duo in the league. Because when you have two guys like that, Tyler Warren who can be a wildcat quarterback, right, / running back, and then Brock Bowers who is possibly the heir apparent to Travis Kelce being the best receiving tight end, you can do so much with your offense from that. Defenses will never know whether you're right. It'll be like Hernandez and Gronk.
Yeah, you just got to make sure. You just got to make sure that neither of them is a murdering shithead.
Stop. Why go there?
I have to.
Anyway, yeah, you can do so much with your offense.
You can't murder.
The defense will never know whether you're running the ball or passing the ball. It's more of an antiquated style of offense. It's not like throwing everything at the wide receivers, but it's super quarterback friendly. You could get a young guy in there, give him time to. I mean, not for Shador necessarily, but for Tyler Show or however you say his name. Maybe Jalen Milroe. You got some options there. So That would be a fun but unrealistic scenario.
If they don't ban the tush push and they have a great line wherever Tyler Shuff goes, then they could tush push Shuff.
Yeah. I hope they don't ban the tush push. I hope that they do ban like propelling or basically pushing the ball carrier or carrying the ball carrier, because it's ridiculous to me when you see an offensive lineman grab the running back under the armpits and just like drag him towards the goal line.
I forgot what that's called in rugby. I know a ruck is when you set the ball up, but then there's when you throw the ball in from out of bounds. They literally pick up a dude from the hips on each side and like raise him in the air.
Isn't that the scrum?
No. The scrum is when they line up 7-on-7 and they kick the ball back to the quarterback.
Oh, and they like put their heads together, or whatever.
Yeah. It's an interesting sport, but not nearly as awesome as football. Let's be real. So,
I don't know.
Moving forward,
I love football, but the rest of the world seems to think that rugby is the superior game. So.
And they also seem to think that football is played with a white and black ball that's round.
Or you mean with your feet?
Yeah, an actual foot, but it's spelled F-U with an apostrophe T, or a tilde. I'm sorry. No, it's not a tilde. It's an
accent. Not always. Not always. In British and in Spanish, they don't have an accent on the U. I don't think.
Yeah, well, they have accents in their language, so it's one and the same.
Brits don't.
Brits don't?
Yeah,
they have so many different variations of
They don't have accents.
Oh, anyway. We have accents.
Anyway. Do you have anyone else that's on your list?
I do. I thought you have one more or no?
Who did I say? Oh, I said Jack. I said Jack Sawyer. I said Tyler Warren.
Okay.
Did I have anyone else?
Okay. I do. I have one.
Yeah, no, there's no one else that I'm really excited about. Anywhere.
All right,
so them to go,
my last one is gonna be a love, because love should outweigh hate, right?
Ooh, I do. I had one that came to mind, so I'll say it after you say this one. Go ahead.
Okay, that's cool. So we're gonna combine a R&B singer with 80s running back with Omarion Rodney Hampton. I would love to see this big power back end up in a potential Super Bowl winning town in Denver. I think the Broncos have an outstanding setup. They have only bolstered what looked great last year. Their defensive side is stacked. I know they lost Javonte Williams, big deal. All right. They have Jaleel McLaughlin, and I don't even know who else is in their running back room.
Audric Estime.
Okay, maybe he'll be good enough. But I think Omarion Hampton is that missing piece that Bo Nix needs to just power through. He's a strong power runner who would, he's the commitment.
Well, to me, he's like Jonathan Taylor. That's how he runs to me. He's a big guy. He's fast, can break tackles. He's not the shiftiest guy, but he can make some moves, get downhill quick, and be in the end zone. I think you are spot on with that. I think that's a great spot for him.
He's literally the missing piece to make them a contender. And I guarantee if he does go to Denver, now this is Super Bowl because it's one player and it's a rookie running back. But if he goes to Denver, they win the AFC
West?
Central. What is it?
The West over the Chiefs?
Is it the West? Yeah.
Over the Chiefs. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Bo Nix can keep up.
Will be third.
We'll see if Bo Nix can keep up the pace he was on last year. I'm not gonna be a no Nixer until I see it happen again. but yeah, I think that'd be a great spot. The thing about the running backs is that this is like people are saying this is the deepest running back class since like 2008 or something like that, and so.
There's like six viable guys that could start.
It just makes me wonder if teams are going to wait till later rounds because there's more value taking another position that drops off more quickly. You know, like
They won't for Janty.
imagine if the Broncos go out and get like a top cornerback to pair with what's his name?
Surtain?
Or like they get like one of the top safeties, like Malachi Starks or something. Like there's ways that they can turn their defense into good into great, and like all time great. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went Omar and Hampton either. I think that would be a great fit.
I think it would be exciting for the fans in Denver. Almost as exciting when they got the news that Super Bowl star Russell Wilson was joining their team, only to blow up in their face. I imagine this will have a better outcome. Just a quick note. I could transform both of my loves to hate, and it would be Ashton Janty or Omarion Hampton going to Dallas. I would hate that.
Yeah, Janty to Dallas would be great. I would like to see that. All right, so my last person is Matthew Golden.
The receiver?
The receiver out of Texas.
Probably the top receiver in the draft, right?
Some people are saying it. I think Tet. I think that's like draft or prospect fatigue with Tet.
And is that what his like what people call him Tet, or is it just because his
Tet or T-Mac?
T-Mac, okay. Because if
Teteroa,
what is his
Teteroa McMillan?
Teteroa, that's cool. That's one first in the NFL, I think.
So I don't.
Last year we had Kool-Aid. This year we have Teteroa.
I would be surprised if Golden went ahead of Tet. One thing that I saw that like made me worried about Golden, because I liked him for the Patriots at first, but like he never ran over 19 miles per hour in game, and so it makes me question if his time speed actually is game speed. So I'm not huge on Matthew Golden, but I think he's a good player. And I think that if he went to Cincinnati and Cincinnati was like, F the defense, we're just gonna... Huh? Basically.
Tyler Boyd?
I think that would be a really great fit, and they would just be super explosive. I know that they probably like the guy out of Princeton. I forget his name. But I think that Matthew Golden would be great in that receiver room.
Yeah. That's a bold statement in itself, because they have already locked down two of like the top 15 or 12, if you will, receivers.
I wouldn't rank T that high.
He finished last year with injury so high that it's like, how did he do that? Like he's definitely not playing every game.
I mean, it helps having the best receiver in the league on the other side and one of the best quarterbacks throwing the ball. I think T is good. I think he's good. I don't know if I'd put him top 15 though.
I feel bad for him. I want to see him get out of the shadow, and I want to see him be a number one, but the situation doesn't warrant it.
Well, I mean, he just signed a huge contract, so at least not for the next 2 or 3 years. Why? He's paid
like $40 million under Jamar, and he's got like a year on him.
So what? He's paid. He's paid like one of the top wide receivers in the league. Like no reason to feel bad for him.
That's true. But for his career, it'd be nice to see him or Jamar move before he retires, so he could play somewhere else as a number one if he still has the juice.
Yeah, I doubt Jamar's going anywhere. He and Burrow are besties, so I doubt it.
Imagine they both go to the Jets. When it's too late.
I could see that happening.
My dad doesn't need that shit.
All right.
In his golden years, he doesn't need
a broken Joe Burrow.
More like signings that seem like they would have been great if they were only done 3 or 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
Oh man, poor Jets.
All right. So that's everyone.
Yeah. And with that comes the end of our podcast, I believe. Right?
You didn't want to do a doghouse?
Yeah, we could do a doghouse. Let's hit the tune.
Go ahead. Who you got in the doghouse?
Doghouse. I think I mixed sounds. All right, guys. Well, welcome into the doghouse, first off-season edition. I know you're all wondering if I'm going to put Aggie in the doghouse this year, this off-season, this day. And Aggie is permanently in the doghouse, but we got to give him some company. And Aggie's company will be Billy Duncan, our commissioner, for hoarding a trophy that he almost was able to keep. Billy, we're going to need to see that in the mail, and Pascal, we're going to need Marvellous's address in Billy's text box soon.
Got you.
And then, Babalu, you're also in the doghouse because we need you to come get some sun out of the rock you've been hanging out under. And that's it.
All right, my doghouse. I think most people can imagine who it is. It's you, my friend, Brendan Casello.
I'll hang out with my friend.
It is for not using an Excel sheet the way it's supposed to be used, and instead inputting each number into your calculator to add it up by hand, and then writing it down in
I like writing shit down
in a notebook.
I like it.
You wasted everyone's time and came up with weird metrics that seem to not even have been correct.
Okay. Well,
but
at the
very least, what you did do was you allowed me to see that my formulas were incorrect also, and it allowed me to fix those before we came on the air. So
nice.
You go in the doghouse, but I'm at least giving you a blanket.
Hey, and at least I get to hang out with my buddies, Aggie, Billy, and if Bob ever shows up, you know.
All right.
So, all right, guys. Well, let's all have a good night. Checking the draft, a good couple weeks till you see us again. And make sure while booing Roger Goodell to put it in the air.
Is the put it in the air,
So yeah,